The Throne of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1326 Eastern Saint. The Dimensional Cube Challenge has come to an end. Xia Xingchen ranks first. Zhang Yan ranks second. 1RUI ranks third. All three of them were praised by Roger. Roger even left Xia Xingchen alone in the palace and said, "Xingchen, your future is limitless. I will give you two choices now. The first choice is that you stay with me and practice with me. I will give you all the resources. I believe that your strength will soar again in a short time. Stay with the master." Xia Xingchen was a little tempted. The spiritual power training is full of thorns, and there will always be difficulties and confusion. Roger is the first person in the world. If he is there to guide you, you will definitely avoid many detours. What's more, Roger promised that he would give all the resources to himself and cultivate him with all his strength. How many resources does Roger have? No one knows. But everyone knows that Roger's wealth and connections are top notch in the Milky Way. "Master, what about the second choice?" Xia Xingchen asked. "The second option is what I mentioned to you before. You will go with Wankan Crossing and your fellow apprentices on the King's space carrier to train in the universe. I know the locations of several secret cosmic realms. You can go to the secret realms and explore them. There should be some opportunities," Roger said with a smile. "Go with the king to explore the secret cosmic realms." Xia Xingchen's body shook, and he was even more excited. The Milky Way is vast and hides countless secret cosmic realms. However, few people know the coordinates of these secret realms. Roger once led the King Star Pirates to explore the starry sky by spaceship. He not only gained a lot of wealth, but also knew the specific locations of many secret cosmic realms. Each of these secret cosmic realms hides treasures that cannot be measured by money. Moreover, in the secret cosmic realms, Xia Xingchen can more deeply understand the mysteries of the universe and comprehend the laws of the universe. "Xingchen." Roger looked at Xia Xingchen. "Wang Qianxing has mentioned to me more than once that he wants you to train with the king. He just mentioned it again. You might as well give Wang Qianxing a favor." Xia Xingchen was surprised. "Is it Captain Wan who invited me to join the King Star Pirates?" Roger nodded and smiled. "Yes. I have never seen Wang Qianxing so eager to recruit talents. To be honest, I'm also a little reluctant and want you to stay with me. Of course, Wang Qianxing and I will respect your opinion and will not force it. You take your time to think about it. Don't be in a hurry." Roger waited quietly by the side, and time passed by. Xia Xingchen kept thinking in his mind, weighing the pros and cons. After half an hour, Xia Xingchen let out a long sigh, and a look of relief appeared on his face. He already had an idea in his mind. Xia Xingchen looked up at Luog and said, "Master, I'm going to disappoint you again. I still have some things to deal with, so I didn't concentrate on my practice. Please forgive me." Sure enough, Luog was not surprised, but laughed. "I knew you would refuse again. After all, I'm your master. How can I not know what you are thinking? The burden on you is heavier than that of others. I originally thought that you would be affected by trivial matters and would affect your practice, and I was not optimistic about you. But it seems that I was wrong. It doesn't matter. Master believes in you. Just continue to practice in your own way." Xia Xingchen felt warm in his heart and thanked Luog sincerely. Although Luog was a disciple for the first time, he was a well-deserved mentor. If a person can meet a good mentor or a good friend in his life, it is a blessing in his destiny. "Xingchen, you don't want to take the two paths I choose, but you must accept the reward I give you. Otherwise, your other brothers will say that I'm unfair." Roger smiled and said, "Have you heard of the name Dan Fangsheng?" Dan Fangsheng, the mecha craftsman of the King Star Pirates. Although his reputation is not prominent, his strength is extraordinary. My teacher Zuo Leheng once said that if there is one person in the human race who can stand shoulder to shoulder with him, then it must be Dan Fangsheng. Xia Xingchen knew all the information about mecha designers and said immediately, "Well, you go to Dan Fangsheng. I have already greeted him. I believe that you can get what you want from him." Roger smiled and waved his hand. Go. Thank you, master. Xia Xingchen showed a look of joy on his face and turned to leave. It is said that Dan Fangsheng has a very strange personality. He concentrates on studying mechas in the mecha workshop of the king and never goes out. It is harder to see him than to climb to the sky. But Dan Fangsheng's strength is indeed unquestionable. Even in the circle of legendary masters, Dan Fangsheng is more famous than Zhuo Leheng. Zhuo Leheng is the leader of the mecha world, but the mechas he manufactures are basically mass-produced military mechas. These mechas are inexpensive and cost-effective, making the Tang Dynasty group rich and firmly ranked first among the military enterprises in the Galaxy Empire. However, Zhuo Leheng is a little weaker in the field of high-end mechas. Designing high-end mechas is different from mass-produced mechas. It requires more fantastic ideas and concepts that go beyond the boundaries. In fact, Zhuo Leheng himself admitted that he is not as good as Hao Xian in the field of high-end mechas. It is for this reason that Zhuo Leheng will work with Hao Xian to jointly develop the Demon King mecha. Dan Fangsheng, on the other hand, designs legendary mechas specifically for legendary masters. There is even a saying in the mecha world that legends are easy to get, but oriental ones are hard to find. This means that legendary mecha masters are already rare enough. But the mechas designed and manufactured by Dan Fangsheng are even rarer than legendary mecha masters. A moment later, Xia Xingchen entered the king's spacecraft carrier. A huge mecha workshop, which was well organized, with shelves full of various mecha parts, as well as rare metals and star beast materials. In front of a huge quantum computer, an old man with white hair and beard, wearing a white research suit, was typing on the keyboard. Xia Xingchen walked into the mecha workshop and looked at the old man in front of him curiously. This man was the legendary Dan Fangsheng. The mecha workshop represents the style of mecha designers. Hao Xian's mecha workshop is dirty and messy, and parts are thrown away at will. This shows that Hao Xian is not particular about details and has wild and unrestrained thinking. Zhuo Leheng's mecha workshop is spotless and orderly. This also represents Zhuo Leheng's character, abiding by the rules and a bit rigid. The feeling that Dan Fangsheng gave Xia Xingchen was different from the two. Rather than saying that Dan Fangsheng was a mecha designer, it would be better to say that he was more like a scientist. Dan Fangsheng gave people the same feeling as the researcher in the research institute on the Coffin Star. They are very enthusiastic about scientific research, focusing more on theory than practice. However, this person is a legendary mecha designer with a great civilization in the universe. Chapter 1327 Energy Core. There were only Xia Xingchen and Dan Fangsheng in the mecha workshop. Dan Fangsheng had been busy in front of the computer, while Xia Xingchen stood quietly by the side, waiting patiently. After a long time, Dan Fangsheng finally finished his work, turned his chair around, pushed his glasses, and looked at Xia Xingchen with interest. Junior greets Master Dan Fang. Xia Xingchen saluted respectfully. My teacher has mentioned you more than once, saying that you are the best mecha designer in the galaxy. Your teacher? Dan Fangsheng was slightly startled. Isn't your teacher Roger? In one's life, one can have many teachers, but only one master. Roger is my master. The teachers who taught me to learn mecha design are Zhuo Leheng and Hao Xian. Xia Xingchen said with a smile. Zhuo Leheng and Hao Xian. Dan Fangsheng's eyes flashed, and he said in surprise, Xia Xingchen didn't expect that Zhuo Leheng and Hao Xian were actually your teachers. I have heard of their names. They are both the Empire's leading mecha designers. As the saying goes, a good teacher produces a good student. You should have achieved a lot now, right? I dare not mention any achievements. I'm a master recognized by the association. Xia Xingchen said modestly. Such a young master is rare. Dan Fangsheng praised, and there was a light flashing in his eyes. Well. Dan Fangsheng looked down at the time, looked up and said, time is precious. I will make a long story short. I heard from Roger that you have become a legend. Do you want me to help you build a domain mecha? What is your superpower? I will tailor a new mecha for you. A domain mecha? Xia Xingchen was stunned, and then he understood the master's painstaking efforts. A legendary mecha master must drive a mecha that matches his own strength to exert his true strength. Dan Fangsheng tailored a mecha for him. This opportunity is rare. Even if many legendary masters spend all their wealth, and begged Dan Fangsheng. They still couldn't get him to tailor a mecha for them. Domain mecha. Xia Xingchen's heart was pounding. He took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. Master Danfang, I already have 2 mechas, both of which have good performance. Although I also need a new defensive mecha, I already have some ideas. So, Xia Xingchen thought for a while, but refused. Dan Fangsheng was stunned and said in surprise, did I hear it right? You don't need me to help you build a new mecha? No wonder you are Zuo Lehung's apprentice. So arrogant. It turns out that you look down on my strength? Dan Fangsheng's tone was a little unhappy. Xia Xingchen hurriedly said, Master Danfang, you misunderstood. It is better to teach people how to fish than to give them fish. Can you explain to me what a domain mecha is? Well, you have a strong desire for knowledge, not bad. Dan Fangsheng's face calmed down and nodded slightly. I don't have much time, but for your master's face, I can explain it to you. Wait a moment. Dan Fangsheng pressed a button on the handle of the chair, and immediately a mechanical arm took out a mecha part from the shelf and placed it in front of Xia Xingchen, saying, this is the core device of the domain mecha. It is my original invention. I call it the energy core. Energy core? Xia Xingchen stared at the device in front of him with fiery eyes. The diameter of the energy core is 1 meter, the whole body is silver, and the shape of a sphere looks very much like a nuclear fusion engine. However, Xia Xingchen could feel strong mental fluctuations from the energy core. It was obvious that this part was made of a special alloy and was very sensitive to mental power. Xia Xingchen, expand your domain. Dan Fangsheng said. Yes. Xia Xingchen nodded and quietly expanded the omniscience domain, which quickly enveloped the entire mecha workshop. Maintaining the existence of the domain requires a lot of mental power. After a while, Xia Xingchen's face began to turn pale and his forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat. Master Danfang, is this okay? Xia Xingchen asked, his body trembling slightly. Yes, it's okay. You can maintain the domain for so long. I really underestimated you. Dan Fangsheng nodded, with a flash of approval in his eyes. Xia Xingchen then retracted the domain. Xia Xingchen, tell me, what are the disadvantages of the domain? Dan Fangsheng asked. The first disadvantage of the domain is that it consumes a lot of mental power. It doesn't last long, and can only be used as a killer. Xia Xingchen thought for a while and said, you are right. The domain is very powerful, but the mental power consumed is too terrifying. So, I invented the energy gathering core. The function of the energy gathering core is to convert the consumption of mental power into the consumption of mecha energy. As long as the mecha has sufficient energy, the domain can be maintained for a long time. The mecha with the energy gathering core is called a domain mecha. Dan Fangsheng was very proud. The energy gathering core is the essence of my lifelong research. The energy gathering core can convert the mental power consumed by the domain into the energy consumed by the mecha. Xia Xingchen was stunned. The domain mecha can continue to expand the domain. How abnormal the combat power is. Dan Fangsheng nodded and said, that's right. Especially some combat domains, if they can be expanded for a long time, the combat power of the mecha master can be increased by 3 to 5 times. Of course, the energy consumed by the energy gathering core is also terrifying, so the core problem of the domain mecha is the energy device. After my research, this problem has been overcome. Xia Xingchen, since you don't want me to make a domain mecha for you, then, I will give you this energy gathering core. It can be regarded as fulfilling your master's instructions. Thank you, Master Danfang. Xia Xingchen's heart was burning, and he thanked her quickly. But master, I have another unwelcome request. Can you sell me the design of the energy gathering core? Xia Xingchen said. Xia Xingchen had not put the energy gathering core into practice. However, if it was really as Dan Fangsheng said, the value of this device would be immeasurable. Xia Xingchen was a pragmatist. He had the ability, and would definitely let Jia analyze the energy gathering core, and produce a large number of knockoffs. But by doing so, Xia Xingchen would be stealing Dan Fangsheng's research results. This was a very unethical behavior. Therefore, Xia Xingchen directly proposed to buy Dan Fangsheng's energy gathering core drawings. With Dan Fangsheng's authorization, it would not be considered stealing. Sell the design drawings to you? Dan Fangsheng was stunned and laughed in anger. Xia Xingchen, you are too greedy. You actually want the design drawings? Even if I'm willing to sell them, can you afford them? Chapter 1328. What is the most expensive? Talent. Master Dan Fang, I also know that my request is too much. However, the Galactic Empire and the Northern Civil War are in dire straits. The gods are watching covetously, and soon there will be a great disaster for mankind. Therefore, I hope you can share the energy gathering core technology. Let more legendary strongmen improve their combat effectiveness to fight against future wars. Xia Xingchen said. Humph, what about the civil war? What about the gods? What does it have to do with me? Dan Fangsheng snorted coldly. What's mine is mine. Why should I give it to others? Master, that's what I said. Of course, I'm not asking you to share it for free. I'm paying for it. If you have any requirements, just ask. I have a military enterprise, a little money, and I also have some technology in my hands, which may be of interest to you. In short, I will never let Master Dan Fang suffer a loss. Xia Xingchen said hurriedly. Xia Xingchen was determined to get the design of the energy gathering core. He boasted so much, and he had some confidence. In the treasure house of the hidden killing star, Xia Xingchen got 3-star crystal mountains, many treasures, antique calligraphy and paintings, everything. Xia Xingchen was confident that he could afford it, as long as Dan Fangsheng was willing to sell it. Will it not make me suffer a loss? Dan Fangsheng stared. Do you know how much time and effort I spent on developing the energy core? You actually said that you can afford it? Master, just name a price. Xia Xingchen said. Haha, gold has a price, but knowledge is priceless. Dan Fangsheng shook his head and smiled. Do you think I'm a person who is short of money? No matter how many people give me money, I don't care. Xia Xingchen was silent and speechless for a while. Indeed, with Dan Fangsheng's status and position, he must not be short of money. The Kingstar pirates have accumulated a lot of wealth in their adventures in the universe. Moreover, many legendary strongmen have to beg Dan Fangsheng to make domain mechas for them. The money Dan Fangsheng earns from making a domain mecha is an astronomical figure. How is it? Dan Fangsheng looked at Xia Xingchen and said jokingly, aren't you arrogant? In addition to money, can you bring me something that will make me excited? I can consider it. Xia Xingchen thought anxiously, looking around the mecha workshop. Many mecha designers have their own hobbies. Zuo Leheng likes to drink tea, and Hao Xian likes to drink. There are also some mecha designers who like antiques, jewelry, calligraphy and paintings. However, there is nothing special in Dan Fangsheng's mecha workshop, and Xia Xingchen can't see his hobbies. Well, then I can only exchange technology. Xia Xingchen said, Master, I have several technologies and many drawings of mecha weapons. There are many weapon drawings in the database of the Star Domain Arc. Xia Xingchen himself also has advanced technologies such as solar furnace and solar coating. Any of these technologies can shake the starry sky. However, Dan Fangsheng still shook his head. I have been on the king for so many years, explored many secret places, visited many alien ruins. I also mastered many drawings of alien technology. I have exhausted my life's energy to study these technologies, but I can't finish them. I don't want to touch more technology anymore. Ah. Xia Xingchen was stunned. Master, you don't want money or technology. Do you really not want to sell it? So you are making things difficult for me? Dan Fangsheng shook his head and chuckled. Of course not. I ask you, what is the most expensive thing in this era? Knowledge. Xia Xingchen said subconsciously. No, it's talent. Dan Fangsheng said, knowledge is only valuable if it can be passed on. And to pass it on, you need talents. I think you are a talent. You should understand what I mean, right? Xia Xingchen was slightly stunned. He was very smart and immediately understood what Dan Fangsheng meant. Dan Fangsheng wanted to worship him as his master, to pass on the knowledge he mastered to himself and pass it on. Xia Xingchen was immediately surprised and happy. It was a great thing to be able to worship Dan Fangsheng as his master. But Xia Xingchen hesitated and said, Master, I really want to be your disciple and learn from you. But I have a lot of chores to do, and I'm afraid I don't have much time. Besides, I already have 2 teachers and 1 master. Dan Fangsheng waved his hand. You just said that a person can have many teachers in his life, but can only have one master. I'm just your teacher and let you pass on what I have learned throughout my life. Zuo Lehun can be your teacher, but why can't I? Xia Xingchen hurriedly said, of course you can, but I have too little time. Dan Fangsheng smiled. I've heard of your deeds. You still have to help Princess Crossing to regain the throne of the empire. This is difficult, and you've worked hard. But I'm not in a hurry. You can take care of your own things first. With my body, I won't die for the time being. Seeing that Dan Fangsheng was so reasonable, Xia Xingchen didn't know what to say, so he knelt down on the spot and performed the master-disciple ceremony. Dan Fangsheng smiled and said, well, he is ambitious, capable, smart, and powerful. It is really hard to find such a disciple. Xia Xingchen, from now on, I will be your teacher. Let alone the design of the energy core, I will give you all the other knowledge I have. Thank you, teacher. Xia Xingchen said. In the next 3 days, Xia Xingchen followed Dan Fangsheng to learn and roughly understood the design of the legendary mecha. 3 days was just a blink of an eye, but Xia Xingchen still benefited a lot. At the same time, Xia Xingchen also understood Dan Fangsheng's character. Dan Fangsheng was more strict than Zuo Lehun and Hao Xian, and had higher requirements for the understanding of his disciples. Dan Fangsheng would look coldly at those with a little dullness, and even beat and scold them. It was for this reason that Dan Fangsheng handled everything in the entire mecha workshop. He was very busy and often couldn't handle it. He revealed in his words that he still hoped Xia Xingchen could stay and help him. Xia Xingchen also wanted to stay and learn more knowledge from Dan Fangsheng. However, Edward had sent an urgent message asking Xia Xingchen to return to the Azure Star. Xia Xingchen thought about it and went to Dan Fangsheng to explain the situation. You're leaving in just 3 days. You've only learned a few basics. The key is that once you leave, I have to do all the work by myself. In the past 3 days, Xia Xingchen helped Dan Fangsheng a lot, greatly reducing his burden and not having to do everything himself. Dan Fangsheng tasted the sweetness, so when Xia Xingchen said she was leaving, he was a little unhappy. Teacher, it's too tiring for you to work alone. You should hire some assistants. Xia Xingchen said. Assistant? Dan Fangsheng shook his head again and again. I said that the most expensive thing in this era is talent. I've also found assistants before, but they were all clumsy and always made trouble. I can recommend a few people to you. Xia Xingchen smiled, and he already had the right person in mind. Chapter 1329 Great Disaster. The first person Xia Xingchen thought of was Clyde. When Lu Bangxing participated in the Infinite Mecha Fighting competition, Xia Xingchen once recruited a talented mecha designer named Clyde, and asked him and several friends to join the Star Business Alliance. Originally, Xia Xingchen planned to let Kang Xiu train Clyde and make him a mecha designer who could stand alone in the Star Business Alliance. Later, Kang Xiu told Xia Xingchen more than once that he couldn't teach Clyde. It was not because Clyde was unbearable. On the contrary, after Clyde joined the Star Business Alliance, he was modest and learned from Kang Xiu, and his grades were very good. The reason why Kang Xiu said this was because he believed that Clyde was a real genius with extraordinary talent in mecha design. Kang Xiu was very clear about his own strength. His talent was mediocre. It was just that he was lucky and had Xia Xingchen's thigh, which made him soar. In mecha design, Kang Xiu was at best a teacher with a second knife. He didn't want to delay Clyde because of himself, so he wanted Xia Xingchen to help introduce Clyde to Zuo Lehun or Hao Xian, so that the Tutation Bidao could guide Clyde. Xia Xingchen had been thinking about this matter. Dan Fangsheng's reputation was not inferior to Zuo Lehun and Hao Xian. In comparison, Dan Fangsheng was more strict and a very good teacher. He believed that he could teach Clyde a lot and make him an excellent mecha designer. You want to find an assistant for me? Dan Fangsheng rolled his eyes. Xingchen, I'm not trying to offend you. You can introduce an assistant to me, of course. But I have very high requirements for the talent of my assistants. If they are stupid, I will not show mercy and drive them away on the spot. Teacher, don't you still believe me? The person I introduce is of course the most outstanding genius of the younger generation of the Galactic Empire. Xia Xingchen patted his chest and promised. Bring him here to see. What genius. I have seen too many. Dan Fangsheng snorted coldly. Xia Xingchen immediately arranged for Kang Xiu to tell Clyde the good news. Dan Fangsheng. Ah. Is it the legendary mecha designer, the elusive senior Dan Fang? I actually have the opportunity to be his assistant? Clyde was stunned when he heard this, and then he was ecstatic and quickly agreed. You should behave well. The adults are worried about you. Kang Xiu smiled and said, you should learn from senior Dan Fang. I envy you very much for being his assistant. Kang Xiu was telling the truth. There is no mecha designer in the Galactic Empire who doesn't know the name Dan Fangsheng. It's a pity that Dan Fangsheng is so mysterious that it's difficult for ordinary people to meet him. Kang Xiu immediately brought Clyde and several young mecha designers with Clyde to the king to meet Dan Fangsheng and let him choose. Dan Fangsheng was indeed strict. After choosing and choosing, only Clyde was left, and all the other young designers were eliminated. Xingchen, this young man named Clyde is not bad. Although his talent is not as good as yours, he is also a promising talent. I will make it clear in advance that he is only my assistant, not my apprentice. I will not teach him anything. How much he can understand is his own business. Dan Fangsheng called Xia Xingchen over and said, Teacher, I understand. Xia Xingchen nodded and smiled. Since you have found a suitable assistant, then I'm relieved. Xia Xingchen said goodbye to Dan Fangsheng, left the king's spaceship, and then went to say goodbye to Roger. Xingchen, remember, don't neglect your practice. Roger repeatedly reminded him. Master, I remember. Xia Xingchen knelt down to thank Roger. He knew that Roger was talking about the right way. The law of the jungle is the most basic law of the universe. Strength is the foundation. Xia Xingchen has too many things to do, and too many enemies, each one more terrifying than the other. Therefore, he needs strong strength. Xia Xingchen returned to the star domain arc and immediately flew towards the blue star in the chaos star domain. Edward urged Xia Xingchen to go back immediately. In the meditation room of the star domain arc, Xia Xingchen sat cross-legged, silently practicing the heaven and man harmony technique, and was thinking about the gains of this trip. Well, I have benefited a lot from returning to my master this time. My mental power level has been stabilized at the legendary first level Nebula Primary, and is not far from the Nebula Intermediate. The most important thing is that I have obtained the legendary heaven and man harmony technique, and comprehended the two cosmic laws of the way of concealment and invasion like fire, and my combat power has been improved again. With my current strength, I should be able to fight against the powerful people of the third level of legend. In addition, I also worship Dan Fangsheng as my teacher, and obtained the essence of his lifelong research, the energy gathering core, as well as the drawings of the energy gathering core. And the most important thing, I realized my shortcomings. First, my mecha is good at attacking, but defense is a weakness. I need a defensive mecha. Second, my field still has defects. I can only perfect my field by comprehending more cosmic laws. A true strong man should not only see his own advantages, but also his own disadvantages. Only by recognizing one's own shortcomings can one make progress. 10 days later, the star domain arc arrived at the blue star. Xia Xingchen returned home and had a quick meeting with Kinjana. Before they could get intimate, he immediately went to see Edward. In Edward's castle, Xia Xingchen met the new domain lord of the Chaos Star domain, his former elder brother. Edward's face was rosy, he was in high spirits, his clothes were more luxurious, and he exuded a kingly aura. Seeing Xia Xingchen coming back, Edward immediately went up to him, hugged him, and said with a smile, "Brother, you are back. Brother, what happened? Why are you calling me back in such a hurry?" Xia Xingchen was a little surprised. Judging from Edward's appearance, he did not encounter any problems. "It's not me, it's Rom. Of course, Rom's business is also my business." Edward waved his hand and asked Rom to come over. "You can talk to Xingchen yourself." Rom, with green skin and ugly face, came over, knelt in front of Xia Xingchen, and whispered, "Sir, do you remember our agreement?" "Agreement?" Xia Xingchen was stunned, and immediately remembered that he and Rom did have an agreement. When Rom handed the Suzaku statue to Xia Xingchen, he once said, the high priest of the orcs had predicted that the orcs would encounter a great disaster, and only Xia Xingchen could save them. Xia Xingchen agreed immediately. If the orcs were in trouble, he would definitely help. However, Xia Xingchen was a little strange. If it was before, Edward was just one of the 7-star pirate overlords, and his strength was not good. It would be fine if the orcs came to him when they were in trouble. Now, Edward is already the domain lord of the Chaos Star domain, with millions of starships and mechas under his command. Whatever problems the orcs encounter, Edward can easily deal with them with a wave of his hand. Why did Roma have to come to me for help? Chapter 1330 Beast Star. Rom, what happened to your planet? Xia Xingchen looked at the green-skinned orc in front of him. There is a group of interstellar pirates who wantonly plundered my people and destroyed our home. The High Priest really has no choice but to ask me to ask you for help. Rom knelt on the ground and sobbed softly. Xia Xingchen felt even more strange and looked up at Edward with a suspicious face. The Chaos Star domain was originally a star domain where pirates were rampant. Although Edward unified the Chaos Star domain and became the new domain master, the pirates did not disappear. On the contrary, because the 7 pirate overlords died or disappeared, the remaining pirate groups became more rampant and their behavior was even more arrogant. The orcs can be regarded as a race that has suffered many disasters. First, the orcs' home planet was constantly harassed by pirates. Later, Qin Yun killed the innocent and took credit for himself. He led the Imperial Expeditionary Force to capture the orcs' home planet, plundered a large number of orcs, escorted them to the Galactic Empire, and beheaded them for public display. The orcs had no choice but to abandon their home planet, go far away, and hide on a new planet called Beast God Star. However, even so, the orcs still could not escape the bad luck and continued to be harassed by interstellar pirates and were abducted and sold as slaves. This is the fate of the weak in the universe. Xia Xingchen felt deeply sympathetic. Humans are such a race, not only to alien races, but also to their own compatriots. Xia Xingchen was born a miner. The status of miners in the empire is inferior. Like the orcs, they are sold as slaves. However, Xia Xingchen couldn't understand that Edward was the domain lord after all. As long as he spoke, the interstellar pirates who attacked the Beast God Star would have to give him some face and let the orcs go. Edward looked embarrassed and coughed. Xingchen, Rom's business is my business. I also want to help the orcs. However, Rom disagreed and said that the High Priest had ordered that you must help. Xia Xingchen looked at Rom and asked, did the High Priest really say that? Rom nodded. The High Priest did say that only you can save the orcs. Edward said in a deep voice, although the orcs are weak now, their civilization was once glorious, even surpassing today's humans. The High Priest is the smartest and wisest person among the orcs. Since he said so, he must have his reasons. Xia Xingchen's Azure Dragon Mecha and Vermilion Bad Mecha are both from the orcs. It can be said that Xia Xingchen has a special feeling for the orcs. Xia Xingchen thought about it and agreed to Rom, ready to set off today and rush to the Beast God Star. Xia Xingchen said goodbye to Rom and Edward, returned home, and prepared to say goodbye to Qin. Meetings are always short-lived, and Xia Xingchen is helpless, feeling that he owes Qin a lot. Qin is a kind-hearted girl and understands that everything Xia Xingchen does is for her in order to regain her throne. Xingchen, I understand you. Just go out in the starry sky and I will help you manage the Star Business Alliance. Qin snuggled in Xia Xingchen's arms and whispered, Jaina, thank you very much. Xia Xingchen sighed, but his heart was warm as spring. It is the happiest thing in the universe to be able to spend a lifetime with a gentle and sensible woman like Qin. By the way, Xingchen, Chen Tingting just contacted me, asking for help. Qin said. Help? Xia Xingchen was shocked and asked anxiously, what's going on? Look how anxious you are. Qin said sourly, Tingting is fine. However, the situation of the Galaxy Freedom Army is not good. For some reason, Qin suddenly mobilized a large number of starships to attack the planet of the Galaxy Freedom Army under the banner of pacifying the country before fighting the enemy. Tingting's tone was very urgent, as if the Freedom Army could not hold on any longer. So, they want to borrow troops from you. I have also heard about Qin's attack on the Galaxy Freedom Army. Tingting is an independent and face-saving girl. If the Galaxy Freedom Army had not reached the end of its rope, she would never ask me for help. I will definitely help you. Xia Xingchen frowned and thought in his heart. He did not expect that the affairs of the orcs and the Galaxy Freedom Army would be mixed together. Let's do this. Xia Xingchen thought for a moment and had a plan in mind. I'll let Li Huamui command the Star Domain Arc and the soldiers on it to rush to Tingting first to help resist the Imperial Army. I'll go to the Beast God Star first. The attack of the orcs by the interstellar pirates is not a big deal. I can handle it alone. Are you going alone again? Kinjaina's face changed slightly and she said with concern, every time you act alone, I'm worried. Scared? Jaina, don't be afraid. Believe me, I'll be fine. Xia Xingchen's face was full of smiles and he touched Kinjaina's soft hair. It's just some interstellar pirates. What's the danger? In the Chaos Star Domain, the 7-star pirate overlords died at the hands of Xia Xingchen. The Star Pirate King Roger was Xia Xingchen's master. Moreover, attacking the Beast God Star, abducting the orcs, and selling them as slaves. Those who can do such a despicable act are likely to be third-rate star pirates. The big star pirates don't care about doing such a dirty business as human trafficking. Yes, Xingchen, I'll wait for you to come back on the Azure Star. Kinjaina nodded obediently. Although she would have complaints in her heart about what her man did, she would support him unconditionally in the end. This is love. The two of them spent a night together. The next day, Xia Xingchen handed over all matters of the Star Domain Arc to Li Huamui, and together with Rom, drove the Qinglang Mecha, and embarked on a journey to the Beast Star. The Beast Star is located in the most remote and desolate area of the Chaos Star Domain. After a long interstellar voyage, the Qinglang Mecha finally arrived outside the Beast Star. Looking at the Beast Star from outer space, Rom couldn't help but sigh. The original home planet of the orcs was a planet covered with forests and beautiful like a fairyland. Tall Qinglang trees stood in the forest, birds sang and flowers bloomed. The orcs lived in the mountains and forests, slashing and burning, and lived a primitive life. It was a paradise. But now the Beast Star is full of deserts, and there is no green on the entire planet. However, even if they escaped to this desolate place, the orcs still could not escape their tragic fate. The Azure Dragon Mech passed through the thin atmosphere of the Beast God Star, and landed on this yellow planet with a hot climate. Under Rom's guidance, Xia Xingchen flew the Azure Dragon Mech to a mountain, and found several orc villages here. The villagers were planting small trees on the barren land. They were saplings of Azure Dragon wood. Seeing the human mechas whizzing in from the low altitude, the villagers were frightened and ran back to the village. After a while, several strong orc warriors came out holding wooden poles, with hatred flashing in their eyes, staring at the Azure Dragon Mech. Chapter 1331 Beast God Trial. The orc warriors, wearing animal skins and holding wooden poles, blocked the Azure Dragon Mecha with their flesh and blood, shouting loudly, "Despicable humans, get out of our homeland." Xia Xingchen looked at these orc warriors with primitive equipment and felt an inexplicable sadness in his heart. The orcs use such primitive weapons to fight against the human starship army. The orcs once had a brilliant civilization. Why are they declining like this now? Perhaps civilization is like a person's life. There are childhood, middle age, and old age. And now the orcs are already in their twilight years. Humans are in their prime. Perhaps the civilization that has not been promoted to heaven will end up like the orcs. Xia Xingchen sighed, his eyes flashing. I will never let humans follow the path of decline of the orcs. The Azure Dragon Mecha stopped. Rom jumped out of the cockpit, stood in front of the orc warriors, and shouted, "Make way, this is the distinguished guest invited by the High Priest." Rom. It's the warrior Rom. It's really him. It turns out that the distinguished guest of the High Priest is here. Rom's reputation among the orcs is very loud. Everyone present knows him, and quickly makes way for him, but everyone's eyes are still fixed on the Qinglang Mecha. Most of them are hatred, and a small part is curiosity. Because some orc warriors have discovered that this mecha driven by humans has strong orc characteristics, and seems to be exactly the same as the Qinglang statue in the temple altar. Xia Xingchen drove the Qinglang mecha, and flew into the cave at the bottom of the mountain. This is an orc village with a prosperous population. Many orc women and children are curiously looking at the orc mecha. Rom, did you bring Xia Xingchen? An old orc wearing animal skins and hunched over with a cane came out. He is the high priest of the orcs. High priest, I have fulfilled your mission. Rom knelt down in front of the high priest and whispered. Xia Xingchen flew out of the azure dragon mech, and his body slowly floated to the ground. Standing in front of the high priest, he was shocked when he saw the old orc in front of him. It turned out that this old orc was the old orc he had met on the Black Tower Star, the one who sold him the sky power and the azure dragon statue. He is really the high priest of the orcs. High priest, long time no see. Xia Xingchen was shocked for a moment, and then his face returned to normal. He stepped forward and said respectfully, my child, we finally meet again. The high priest's face was full of smiles, and his eyes were shining with wisdom. High priest, you have helped me before. I also made a promise to help the orcs. Please tell me where the nests of those interstellar pirates are, and I will destroy them right away. Xia Xingchen was concerned about the Galactic Freedom Army, so he was ready to deal with the matter on the Orc Star quickly. My child, don't worry. Things are not as simple as you think. You can follow me first. The high priest came up, took Xia Xingchen's hand, and led him into the depths of the cave. In the depths of the cave, there is a majestic temple. In front of the temple are 4 huge stone statues, which are the statues of the 4 sacred beasts of Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise. Before entering the temple, Xia Xingchen felt a strong sense of oppression. It seemed that a strong will was dormant in the temple. High priest, where is this? Xia Xingchen said in surprise. This is the Beast God Temple, the origin of our orcs. The high priest smiled and said, the Beast God is the god worshipped by our orcs. Unlike other races, the Beast God is real. It is from the Beast God that I have gained great wisdom and enlightenment. Beast God. Real. Heavenly man. Xia Xingchen thought to himself. But if the Beast God is real, why doesn't he protect the orcs? Let his people be bullied like this? If Xia Xingchen is promoted to a celestial being one day, he will definitely find ways to protect humans and let more powerful humans evolve into celestial beings. In fact, most celestial beings with tribes do this. Celestial beings value their fellow tribes very much. The Beast God is too great. It is a super race that is superior to the celestial beings. It is a god. The Beast God created the glory of the Beastman race. Unfortunately, we were too proud of ourselves, confused by the power, and ignored the guidance of the Beast God, which led to the current situation. This is our own fault, and it has nothing to do with the great Beast God. The high priest's eyes burned with a strange light. Xia Xingchen was speechless. Religion is common in civilization. Judging from the high priest's fanatical appearance, he has been completely brainwashed by the Beast God. Xia Xingchen believes in science, not religion. He even has some rejection of this fanatical religion in his heart. High priest, just tell me directly, what do you need me to do? Xia Xingchen said. It is the Beast God who is calling you. You have already obtained 2 holy beast mechas. The remaining White Tiger mecha and Black Tortoise mecha, the statues are in the temple. You enter the temple, pass the test of the Beast God, and you will get what you want. The high priest said. The remaining 2 holy beast mecha blueprints. Xia Xingchen's heart moved. His eyes lit up. This temptation was too strong. Okay, I will enter the temple and see what the test of the Beast God is. Xia Xingchen strode into the temple. The moment he stepped into the temple, his figure disappeared out of thin air. It was as if Xia Xingchen was swallowed by the Beast God temple. Xia Xingchen felt a strong sense of dizziness, which was the feeling of space change. It was obvious that he had been teleported. With Xia Xingchen's current strong mental power, his face soon returned to normal, and he looked around. Xia Xingchen found that he was in the passage of a spaceship. The lights above his head were bright, and the surrounding equipment was spotless. They were all regular geometric shapes, silver white, reflecting dazzling light. Where is this place? Xia Xingchen immediately drove the Qinglang mecha and walked carefully along the passage. At the end of the passage, it was not the cabin as imagined, but a brilliant starry sky. The Qinglang mecha floated in the starry sky, surrounded by the vast and endless starry sky. Xia Xingchen felt a sense of emptiness in his heart. The situation here does not conform to the laws of the universe that I'm familiar with. This is not the real world, but a virtual space. Xia Xingchen was slightly startled. But, it feels so real here. Xia Xingchen traveled in the starry sky for a long time, and he found that he was trapped in this strange space. Is this the test of the beast god? So weird. What should I do? Xia Xingchen pondered, and suddenly found that there seemed to be life sprouting on a desolate planet in front of him. Xia Xingchen was very curious, and kept his consciousness on this planet. Chapter 1332 Star Pirates Attack. There are lives on this planet. Xia Xingchen's consciousness stayed on this planet, and found that there were traces of humans on the planet. What shocked Xia Xingchen was that the appearance of the humans on this planet, both men and women, was exactly the same as himself. Look like me. Xia Xingchen was stunned, and soon realized that he was indeed in a virtual space. As for the purpose of this virtual space, Xia Xingchen guessed that it was on these lives with the same face as himself. Xia Xingchen found that his will could guide the evolution of these primitive humans. This was very similar to the game he had played on the computer before. Soon, Xia Xingchen was immersed in the strange feeling of becoming the creator. Outside the beast temple, Rom saw Xia Xingchen disappear out of thin air. He followed the high priest into the beast god temple, but he didn't see Xia Xingchen. He couldn't help but showed out on his face and asked, "High priest, where is Xia Xingchen?" The high priest showed an unfathomable smile on his face. He has been summoned by the beast god and has been taken to a special space to undergo the beast god's test. The beast god's test? Rom was startled and worriedly asked, "Is it dangerous?" Of course it is dangerous. If Xia Xingchen cannot pass the test, he will be trapped in that space forever. If he passes the test, he can get the inheritance of the beast god and become the protector of our orcs. The high priest said. Trapped in a different space forever? Rom was stunned and said anxiously, "High priest, why didn't you say it earlier? If Xia Xingchen has any accident, how can I explain to Lord Edward?" "Don't worry." The high priest smiled and said, "The so-called opportunity must coexist with risks. I have confidence in Xia Xingchen, so I let him enter the beast god's trial directly. I won't be wrong about him." Boom. At this moment, there was an explosion outside. The ground shook, the huge beast god temple was trembling, and countless dust and stone chips fell from the ceiling. There is an explosion. Those star pirates are attacking again, and looting the villagers. The high priest was shocked and frowned. Damn star pirates. Rom was furious. "I will fight them." As soon as he finished speaking, Rom jumped onto the green sorrow mech, carrying the sun shooting bow on his back, and rushed out of the cave. Above the beast god star, a 100-meter long starship floated in the sky, with the star pirate's skull flag on its shell. Hundreds of mechas flew out of the starship, dived towards the ground, landed in the orc village, and killed and plundered wantonly. In a blink of an eye, the orc village was burning with raging fire, and wailing and screaming came one after another. Human. A strong orc warrior, wearing animal skins and holding a spear, stopped in front of a steel mecha and shouted loudly, "Stop killing, get out of my home." Not a bad slave, but a little stupid. The mecha master showed a sneer on his face, pushed the joystick, and the chest of the mecha opened. A steel cable flew out and tightly wrapped around the neck of the orc warrior. The orc warrior wanted to struggle, but the high voltage from the steel cable knocked him unconscious immediately. The young and strong men of the orcs can be sold at a good price in the slave market. The human mecha master laughed. "Stop." Rom rushed out in a mecha and blocked the pirates. "Huh? Human mecha? Can the orcs also drive our human mecha? It's rare to see orcs who can drive mechas. They should be able to sell for a good price." The pirates were surprised. "Which pirate group are you from?" Rom's eyes swept over the pirates. There were pirate logos on the mechas and starship shells. However, Rom felt that these logos were unfamiliar. It was the first time he saw them. Could it be a small pirate group that is unknown to the public? Rom had followed Edward to travel through the chaotic starfield, and he also had some reputation among the pirates. The pirates in front of him looked very fierce, but he didn't recognize any of them. It must be said that this matter was very strange. What do you care which pirate group we are from?" A tall pirate stepped forward and sneered. "What's the point of talking so much nonsense with you green-skinned guys? I'm Rom, Lord Edward's personal bodyguard. No matter which pirate group you are from, give Lord Edward a face, leave the beast god star quickly, and don't harass us again in the future," Rom said with his head raised. "Edward? Which Edward? Edward the jackdaw?" This green-skinned orc is actually his bodyguard. When these pirates heard Edward's name, they didn't react at first. After reminding each other, they realized that the Edward Rom was talking about was Edward the Jackdaw, the current lord of the Chaos Star domain. The pirates don't know the name of Lord Edward. Rom was even more suspicious. After unifying the Chaos Star domain, Edward's reputation among the pirates can be said to have surpassed Roger, the Pirate King, and reached the peak. In the Chaos Star domain, Edward's name can be said to be known to everyone. The reactions of these pirates in front of him seemed very abnormal to Rom. "Whoever dares to stop me, I will kill him," a bald giant shouted. His words were very disrespectful to Edward. "You can insult me, but you can't insult Lord Edward." Rom was furious. "So it seems that you pirates are just country bumpkins from some corner." "We are country bumpkins?" Haha, this green-skinned guy actually said we are country bumpkins. Country bumpkins? Haha, if he knew our identity, he would be scared to death. The pirates all laughed loudly and looked at Rom with sarcastic eyes. Among the pirates, there was a middle-aged man with a gloomy face. Although he was wearing an ordinary mecha suit, he could not hide his heroic spirit. Xia Xingchen. The middle-aged man suddenly spoke. "Sir, please." On the screen, a mecha master with a scar on his face was very respectful to the middle-aged man. "We came out this time to raise military funds, so it is not appropriate to cause trouble. Go and capture that guy named Rom. Make a quick decision and try not to hurt him. Edward, this person must not be offended," the middle-aged man ordered. "Yes, sir." Scarface Xia Xingchen drove a scarred mecha into battle. The surrounding pirates saw Xia Xingchen going into battle and made way for him. "Hey, Rom." Xia Xingchen drove the mecha to a distance of 2 kilometers from Rom and said carelessly, "You said you were Edward's bodyguard. Come on. Let me see how powerful Edward's bodyguard is." Rom got goosebumps when Xia Xingchen stared at him as if he was being stared at by a beast. Rom did not dare to neglect it and immediately took off the sun-shooting bow on the back of the green sorrow mecha and shot an arrow. A sneer appeared on Xia Xingchen's face, and the mecha disappeared and suddenly appeared behind Rom. Bang, bang, bang. Countless sparks burst out from Rom's mecha, and explosions continued, as if fireworks were lit. Bang. The green sorrow mecha knelt on its knees, its shell dimmed and completely sank. Chapter 1333, The Protector. Xia Xingchen drove the scarred mecha and defeated Rom with just one move. Rom was completely stunned in the green sorrow mecha. He was killed in one move without even seeing Xia Xingchen's movements. "I'm the personal bodyguard of Lord Edward after all, and I have seen many powerful humans. But this man's strength is too terrifying. Is he a legend?" Rom was shocked and anxious. How could a little-known star pirate group that didn't even know who Edward was have a legendary strongman? Rom couldn't figure it out at all. Rom lost. Even Rom was defeated so thoroughly. The orc warriors were originally cheering for Rom, but Rom was suddenly defeated, and the faces of the orcs were full of shock. Humph, a mere green-skinned kid. How could he be Xia Xingchen's opponent? He's just an orc. Why do you need to use a legend? Lord, you're just being safe. The star pirates showed sarcasm on their faces. Swish. The mechas swooped down again, burning, killing, and looting in the orc village, as if they were in an empty space. Steel cables popped out from the mechas one after another, wrapped around the necks of the young orcs, released high voltage electricity to knock them unconscious, and then put them into iron cages like animals. A few hours later, the orc village that had just been built on the beast god star was swept away. The young trees of the Kinglan wood were trampled, the houses were burned, and the bodies of the orcs' elderly, children and women were everywhere, and blood flowed like a river. Thousands of young and middle-aged orcs were abducted to the spacecraft and locked in a small cabin. A star pirate entered the captain's room and reported to the middle-aged man with a calm face before. "Captain Sun Kong, we have a good harvest this time. A total of 3,203 young orcs were captured. We can make a lot of money by escorting these people to the slave market for sale." Sun Kong nodded slightly. "Well, this should be able to make up for the military expenses. Also, before we go back, our identity is Star Pirates. Don't call me by my rank." The pirate saluted. "Yes, sir." Beast God Star. In the cave under the mountain, in front of the Beast God Temple, countless orcs knelt in front of the temple, crying uncontrollably. Why doesn't the high priest beast god show up and save us? We the orcs have fallen into such a situation now. High priest, my husband has been captured by humans. Please save her. My son. My only son. Countless orcs were begging the high priest. The high priest stood in front of the beast god temple, looking at the suffering people in front of him, the muscles on his face twitching uncontrollably, and whispered, "It will be soon. It should be soon. The beast god will definitely show up. He will definitely." In the beast god temple, Xia Xingchen fell into the beast god illusion, wandering in the universe, and his consciousness was concentrated on a small planet. All the creatures on this planet are exactly the same as Xia Xingchen. Under the influence of Xia Xingchen's will, the biotechnology on the planet has developed very quickly and has entered the steam age. On the planet, there are large chimneys with black smoke everywhere. Tall buildings stand in rows. Countless creatures are cutting down trees and making super mechas powered by steam. These creatures can't wait to drive steam rockets, rush out of the planet, and colonize other planets. Many creatures have also been born on other planets, most of which are ferocious and extremely aggressive carnivores, and a small part are peace-loving vegetarians. Some carnivores have also developed advanced civilizations. They are extremely aggressive and destroy one planet after another. They also kill each other, and one group after another is destroyed. After discovering the dangers of carnivorous civilization, creatures similar to Xia Xingchen began to use their own technology to fight these civilizations and protect the weak civilizations as much as possible. Finally, they successfully eliminated the hidden dangers of the carnivorous civilization and unified this starfield. Rating: Protector type, Advanced Civilization. A voice suddenly sounded in Xia Xingchen's mind. Xia Xingchen suddenly opened his eyes and found that he had left that special space and was standing in a towering hall. In front of him was a huge statue hundreds of meters high, standing upright, looking down at Xia Xingchen with a huge sense of oppression. This is the beast god. Xia Xingchen was delighted that he had passed the test of the beast god. Human. A huge voice exploded in Xia Xingchen's ears. Beast god. Xia Xingchen was startled, knelt in front of the statue of the beast god, and said respectfully, "Great existence, what do you want?" Xia Xingchen could feel that the beast god was an extremely great existence, very likely a celestial being, or even a higher existence than a celestial being. Moreover, Xia Xingchen's mechas were all given by the beast god, so he was naturally very respectful to the beast god. Human. The test you just passed is an evaluation of the danger level of you and your race. You are very lucky. Although your race has destroyed many civilizations, it is not evil. When it evolves to its peak, it will become the protector of the universe. The voice of the beast god rumbled. Protector? Hearing the words of the beast god, Xia Xingchen's face showed surprise. What are left here is just a belief. I can't give you much. You have already obtained the Azure Dragon Mecha and the Vermilion Bad Mecha. Next, I will give you the blueprints of the remaining 2 mechas, said the beast god. A black tortoise and a white tiger, 2 exquisite statues flew towards Xia Xingchen and landed in his hands. Thank you, beast god. Xia Xingchen was delighted. In this way, the blueprints of the 4 sacred beast mechas were finally gathered together. The power of the 4 sacred beast mechas is beyond your imagination. When you have manufactured all 4 mechas, come back here to find me. There is still a final trial waiting for you. The voice of the beast god sounded. Go now and save my former people. There is still a final trial. Xia Xingchen was shocked, bowed to the statue of the beast god, and walked out of the temple. Xia Xingchen, have you obtained the inheritance of the beast god? The high priest saw Xia Xingchen coming out, and his face showed joy. I didn't get it all, but I got the last 2 statues of the holy beast, so it was worth the trip. Xia Xingchen smiled and said, since you have obtained the inheritance of the beast god, you are the protector of our orcs. Please save us. The high priest was excited and knelt in front of Xia Xingchen. Protector, please save us. The other orcs also knelt down and kowtowed to Xia Xingchen. I'm the savior of the Liang tribe, and I have become the protector of the orcs. Xia Xingchen touched his nose and smiled bitterly, but most humans think I'm the most ferocious wanted criminal in the universe. This is really ironic. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1334, Not One Enemy. A drop of water from someone's kindness should be returned with a spring of water. Xia Xingchen promised the beast god that he would protect the orcs, so he nodded and drove the Kinglang Mecha out of the cave, looking up at the group of mechas in the sky that were about to leave. Are these people pirates? Xia Xingchen was slightly surprised when he saw that the mechas were well organized. Even when retreating, they were arranged in a battle formation, with each other looking after the other. It's impossible for them to be pirates. Pirates can't have such a military appearance. These slave traders are soldiers who have received strict military training. Could they be the Imperial Army? Xia Xingchen speculated in his heart. But I know all the standard mechas of the Imperial Army. The models of these slave traders' mechas are more messy, and there are even models I'm not familiar with. Xia Xingchen felt a little strange. Whether it was the Imperial Army or the pirates, Xia Xingchen had no good feelings for them. Swish. The figure of the Azure Dragon Mecha flashed and blocked the slowly rising starship. Xia Xingchen shouted, "Stop. Report to the commander. There is an unknown mecha blocking the front of the spaceship. The unknown mecha has sent a life signal. It is a human driving the mecha. Commander, what should we do? Should we stop?" The bridge was in chaos. More than a dozen signalmen reported to the captain Sun Kang at the same time, asking for his order. Human. Sun Kang was slightly startled, and a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. No matter who this human is, what is his relationship with the orcs? Dare to confront our army, it is a dead end. Turn on the engine at full power and crush him. Boom. The tail of the spacecraft ejected dazzling flames, and the speed of the spacecraft increased instead of decreasing, speeding up and colliding with the Azure Dragon Mecha. Looking for death. Xia Xingchen's eyes suddenly exuded a cold and murderous meaning. Boom. The right arm of the Azure Dragon Mecha shook, and a long spear flashing with blue thunder appeared in his hand, and then suddenly stabbed. The thunder spear flashed with dazzling brilliance, dazzling and dazzling, like a blue curtain in the air. The starship was directly split into two ends by the spear, and the cut was as smooth as a mirror, falling from the sky. Ah! The spaceship was shot down. One shot down the spaceship? Oh my god. Who is this mecha master? The group of mechas guarding around did not react until this time, and the faces of the mecha masters were full of astonishment. No. It's a legend. Scarface was the first to react, gritting his teeth tightly. There is actually a human legend hidden in the orcs. Go and hold the wreckage of the spaceship. I will go to meet him. Whoosh. Scarface drove a scarred mecha and rushed towards the Kinglang Mecha. The other hundreds of mechas dived down, holding the two broken pieces of the spaceship wreckage, and slowly and steadily landed. The identities of this group of people are unknown, and there are also captured orc slaves on the ship. Xia Xingchen did not use heavy hands, otherwise a thunder ore would turn the spaceship into a fireball in the air, and everyone on the spaceship would die on the spot. Sun Kang walked out of the wreckage of the spaceship, his face full of fear. He had never seen such a terrifying mecha. With a wave of the spear in his hand, the starship was swept in two. Who is the opponent? Xia Zheng. I'm afraid he is not his opponent. Army Commander Sun Kang showed panic. Ah. Not good. Xia Zheng lost. Many people looked up and exclaimed, only to see that the mecha covered with scars was also pierced by the thunder spear and fell from the sky. Boom. The scarred mecha fell to the ground, and the legendary mecha master Xia Zheng was seriously injured and unconscious. The Kinglang Mecha was shrouded in blue thunder light, like a god, slowly falling from the sky, defeating a legend with one move, and Xia Xingchen's face was normal, without any change. The other mecha masters felt the powerful aura coming from Xia Xingchen, and they all opened their mouths wide, unable to believe what they saw. Who among you is the commander? Xia Xingchen asked casually. No one answered, and no one even looked at Sun Kang subconsciously. The military discipline is indeed good. Xia Xingchen nodded, but his eyes were focused on Sun Kang. The Kinglang Mecha took a big step and walked towards him. Under the coverage of the omniscience field, no thoughts could escape Xia Xingchen's control. Are you there, Commander? Xia Xingchen looked at the middle-aged man in front of him. He was not tall, with a firm face and tightly pursed lips. His mental power level was around S level, but he had received special training and could control his brain. Even truth serum or brainwashing devices could not break his brain defense. The omniscience field could only feel the middle-aged man's emotions, but could not directly perceive his thoughts. I am. Sun Kang was surprised. He didn't know why his identity was exposed so quickly. Who are you, and why did you come to the Beast God planet to capture orcs? Xia Xingchen asked directly. Are you blind? Didn't you see the skull symbol on our spaceship? Of course we are space pirates. What else can space pirates do to plunder alien races? Of course it's the money. Sun Kang laughed loudly, with no fear on his face. I'll give you another chance. Tell the truth. Xia Xingchen stared at Sun Kang with bright stars in his eyes, exerting pressure on his mind directly. Xia Xingchen is not a psychic like the god's envoy, and cannot directly control the thoughts of others, but it is too easy to use mental pressure to exert pressure on others. Sun Kang's nose bleeds into streams, and the corners of his eyes and ears also begin to bleed. This is a manifestation of his brain being injured under mental pressure. However, he still gritted his teeth and insisted. I said, we are space pirates. A group of space pirates with no power behind us. It's a tough guy. Xia Xingchen showed approval on his face and suddenly withdrew his mental pressure. Bang! Sun Kang fell to the ground and completely fainted. Everyone, surrender. Xia Xingchen nodded loudly. Of course, the star pirates present would not surrender. Some stepped forward to hold Xia Xingchen, while others drove mechas to escape from the beast star. However, the Azure Dragon mecha was like a ghost, shuttling freely on the battlefield, instantly destroying all the mechas of these people, but without hurting the life of the mecha master. Rom, take people to tie up those so-called star pirates. Remember, don't hurt them. The thunder spear in the hands of the Azure Dragon mecha flashed, and it cut through the outer steel plate of the starship, opening the slave cabin. Xia Xingchen untied the rope on Rom and ordered. Yes, sir. Rom immediately stood up and took the lead in bowing deeply to Xia Xingchen. The other rescued orcs followed suit and bowed to thank Xia Xingchen. The star pirates were caught in one fell swoop and locked in a cave. They were provided with 3 meals a day. In addition to restricting their freedom, the orcs did not treat them badly. Chapter 1335 2 Peach Blossom Debts. Xia Xingchen brought Rom back to the Beast God Temple and met the High Priest. The High Priest looked at Xia Xingchen with a smile on his face. You are indeed the one chosen by the Beast God. Once you take action, the crisis of our tribe will be resolved. Xia Xingchen shook his head with a stern face. No, the crisis of the orcs has just begun. It was not until now that I understood why the Beast God gave you a revelation and asked you to find me instead of asking Edward to solve the matter. The High Priest looked confused. Why? Could it be that the true identity of these star pirates is Imperial soldiers? No. If they were Imperial soldiers, I wouldn't feel so difficult. Xia Xingchen bit his lip. I didn't expect that their true identity was the Galactic Freedom Army. Rom was also stunned. Isn't the Galactic Freedom Army a rebel army led by Chen Yazhao? They claim to fight for equality and freedom. How could they do such a despicable thing as kidnapping my people? Xia Xingchen shook his head and smiled bitterly. I don't know either. Chen Tingting, the daughter of Chen Yazhao, and I have a deep friendship. Tingting is Jaina's best friend. I can't believe that the Galactic Freedom Army under her command would act so despicably. However, I used my omniscience to detect the brainwaves of those people. Although they tried their best to avoid me, they could not hide it from me. They are all from the Galactic Freedom Army. The man named Sun Kang is the commander of the 5th Legion of the Galactic Freedom Army. The legendary mecha master named Xia Zheng is a fierce general under his command and a famous combat hero in the Galactic Freedom Army. Commander of the 5th Legion combat hero. Galactic Freedom Army. Rom opened his mouth wide, his face full of astonishment. We orcs have never had anything to do with the Galactic Freedom Army. How could they? The High Priest also shook his head. We have retreated to a place like the Beast God Star. Are we still going to kill us all? I don't want to believe that the Galaxy Freedom Army did such a thing. But this is the fact. For now, I will contact Chen Tingting directly to find out the cause of the incident and eliminate the source. This is the fundamental way to solve the problem. During this period, Please treat Sun Kang and others well. I have a hunch that they must have been deceived. Xia Xingchen said. Roman the high priest nodded and agreed with Xia Xingchen's opinion. That day, Xia Xingchen quietly left the Beast God Star in the Qinglang Mecha and flew alone to the starfield where the Galaxy Freedom Army was located. Penglai Starfield, Freedom Space Station. Chen Tingting was processing files in front of the computer. Chen Yao's house health was not good, and many chores of the Galaxy Freedom Army fell on Chen Tingting. Tingting, go to bed early, don't tire yourself out. Freya came over, put a coat on Chen Tingting, and said with concern. Sister Freya, do you think Xingchen doesn't want to see me? His star arc has come, but he himself hasn't. Chen Tingting turned her head, tears in her eyes. Xingchen. Freya's delicate body trembled. She also missed Xia Xingchen. However, the universe is so vast, and Xingchen has Princess Crossing to accompany him, so what does she count for? Xingchen. Freya couldn't help but whisper softly, and a blurry figure of a young man slowly appeared in front of her. His face was no longer childish, but had a bit more of a man's determination, but his face was as bright as the sun, just like before. Is it an illusion? How come I'm like Tingting, missing you so much, that I actually saw an illusion? Freya's mouth corners raised, and a bitter smile appeared. If she continued to wait aimlessly like this once beautiful blood rose would slowly wither and die over time, right? However, after Freya rubbed her eyes, she was shocked to find that the figure in front of her not only did not disappear, but became clearer. That's right. A man broke into the office at some point. Freya's right hand subconsciously reached for the laser gun on her waist and instantly pointed at the familiar yet strange man in front of her. Sister Freya, you. Chen Tingting saw Freya's panicked movements and looked puzzled. Following her panicked eyes, she also saw the man. She was also stunned, her mouth opened wide, and her little hand covered her lips. Xingchen. I'm not dreaming. Chen Tingting cheered, and like a happy little bird, she pounced on Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen hugged Chen Tingting's petite body in his arms and smiled. Of course it's a dream, otherwise you can pinch your little face and see. Chen Tingting really pinched it, and her cheeks immediately turned red. She turned her head and shouted to Freya with a happy face. It really hurts, sister. It's not a dream. It's really not a dream. Freya looked dazed and then slowly lowered the muzzle of the gun, looking at Xia Xingchen, and murmured, it's not a dream, but you are now the Marquis of Xingchen, a famous hero in the Starry Sea, and I'm just an ordinary bodyguard. How should I face you? Freya's cheeks were flushed, and her heart was panicked and anxious. She didn't expect Xia Xingchen to suddenly appear in front of her, and she was not mentally prepared at all. Bang! Freya turned and ran away, locked the door behind her tightly, and locked herself in a small utility room. What's wrong with Freya? Xia Xingchen looked at Chen Tingting in surprise. Xia Xingchen could certainly use his omniscience to probe into the thoughts of Chen Tingting and Freya. This was a very simple thing for him. However, Xia Xingchen would not do this, because his omniscience would only be used on his enemies. Everyone has their own secrets, and when they don't want to reveal their secrets, prying into their minds is an extremely impolite act. Chen Tingting smiled sweetly. What else can I do? I'm just shy. Don't look at Sister Freya, who is usually cold and cool. She calls herself the Blood Rose. In fact, she is more innocent than me. Xia Xingchen looked at Chen Tingting's little face. Her complexion was gloomy, and she had heavy dark circles under her eyes. Her complexion was much worse than before. He couldn't help but sighed. Hey, Tingting, you have worked so hard. After a while, Freya pushed the door and walked out. She had a cold expression on her face. She just nodded slightly at Xia Xingchen and said lightly, you are here. Tingting has been talking about you for a long time. Seeing that Freya deliberately pretended to be cold and frosty, which was completely different from her panic just now, Chen Tingting didn't expose her and smiled. Yes, I have been talking about Xingchen for a long time. Sister can be said to have never talked about him once. Huh, who wants to talk about him? A heartless man. Freya snorted coldly, staring at Xia Xingchen with her eyes, her pupils burning with wild flames, but she had already betrayed her thoughts. Tingting, Freya. Xia Xingchen finally understood what it meant to borrow peach blossom debts, but it was hard to repay them. Chapter 1336 Supervisor. At this moment, heavy footsteps were heard outside the door, and a big hand pushed the door open. A tall middle-aged man walked into the room and said with concern, "Ting Ting, the radar has captured a strange signal in the nearby starfield. There may be enemies lurking." The man who came was Chen Tingting's father, the leader of the Galaxy Freedom Army, Chen Yazhao. As soon as Chen Yazhao entered the room, he saw his daughter being held in the arms of a strange man. Suddenly, the fire of ignorance in his heart rose up. He quickly took out the pistol from his waist, pointed the gun at Xia Xingchen, and shouted, "Where are you from, you thief? How dare you set your sights on my daughter?" Seeing her father using force against Xia Xingchen, Chen Tingting was afraid of causing trouble, so she quickly broke free from Xia Xingchen's arms, blocked her father, and said anxiously, "Father, you misunderstood. This person is Xia Xingchen." Xia Xingchen. Chen Yazhao was slightly startled. It was the first time he saw Xia Xingchen in person. The real person was more oppressive than the photos and film and television materials. "It turned out to be you." Chen Yazhao put away the pistol. "Chief, what's wrong?" A group of guards outside the door heard Chen Yazhao's furious shout and hurried over with guns in hand, looking nervous. Recently, the Galactic Empire and the Galactic Freedom Army have been at war, and Qin Yan even supervised the battle himself, causing the Galactic Freedom Army to retreat step by step. Qin Yan has always been a man who would do anything to achieve his goals. The intelligence department said that Qin Yan had sent assassins to assassinate Chen Yazhao and Chen Tingting, father and daughter. The guards of the entire Freedom Space Station were also in a state of panic, and they were very nervous at the slightest sign of trouble. Chen Yazhao waved his hand and dismissed the guards. "It's okay, Tingting didn't listen. I'll teach her a lesson." The guards left. Chen Yazhao locked the door, turned to look at Xia Xingchen, with a smile on his lips, walked forward, and extended his hand in a friendly manner. It is said that Xia Xingchen is the most outstanding talent of the younger generation of the Empire. I thought it was an exaggeration, but I didn't expect that hearing about her is not as good as meeting her. After meeting her today, I found that she is really a rare talent. Xia Xingchen blushed slightly. "Uncle Chen, I don't know what Tingting said to you. Her words are too full of water. I have to squeeze them out and dry them in the sun before I can take them as the truth." Ha ha ha. Chen Yazhao laughed heartily, looking at his daughter with interest. Chen Tingting was beside Xia Xingchen, changing her usual willfulness and standing quietly beside him. When Xia Xingchen turned his head, she playfully stuck out her tongue at her father and made a face. "Xingchen, you called me uncle. Let's be frank. You should have come to the Freedom Space Station with the Star Domain Arc, and I would have received you personally. Why did the spaceship arrive but you didn't? And then you sneaked in? What are you up to?" Chen Yazhao was a straightforward person and spoke directly. Xia Xingchen smiled bitterly and shook his head. "Uncle Chen, I have my own difficulties." Then, Xia Xingchen told them everything about what happened on the Beast God Star. Xia Zheng, Sun Kang, the 5th Legion actually pretended to be space pirates and went to the Beast God Star to abduct orcs and sell them. After hearing this, Chen Yazhao, Chen Tingting, and Freya were all stunned. Chen Yazhao shook his head repeatedly. "Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. The 5th Legion is at the front line, fighting the Imperial Army. The war is so intense, how can they have the leisure to go to the Beast God Star to capture orcs? What's more, human trafficking violates the military orders of the Galaxy Freedom Army. How dare Sun Kang openly disobey military orders?" Chen Tingting also said, "I have seen Sun Kang and the legendary mecha master named Xia Zheng. They don't look like people who would do anything wrong." Xia Xingchen shook his head and whispered, "I don't want to believe it either, but the facts are the facts. Sun Kang and Xia Zheng are still captured by me and imprisoned on the Beast God Star. If you don't believe it, you can send a message to the front line to see if Sun Kang is at his post." Chen Yazhao thought for a while, stood up and left in a hurry. After a while, he came back with a gloomy face, as if water was about to drip out. "Father, what's the result?" Chen Tingting asked repeatedly. "It is said that Sun Kang went to carry out a confidential mission and cannot be contacted for the time being." Chen Yazhao was silent after speaking. At this moment, he had already guessed that everything Xia Xingchen said was true. There were indeed people in his Galaxy Freedom Army who were engaged in the slave trade business, but he was kept in the dark. Xingchen, what do you mean? Chen Yazhao raised his head, his face uncertain, and looked at Xia Xingchen. Sun Kang's slave trade, no matter what his reasons are, is definitely not an isolated case. Xia Xingchen said firmly, inside the Galaxy Freedom Army, from bottom to top, the people who know about it cannot be only the 5th Legion. There must be a lot of people involved in this matter. Now the war between the Freedom Army and the Imperial Army is tense. If this matter is openly investigated, it may cause unrest in the army and even the possibility of mutiny. Chen Yazhao nodded and praised. Xingchen, I agree with you. This matter cannot be ignored, but it cannot be a big fight. Xia Xingchen stepped forward and bowed. Uncle Chen, I hope you can give me a power. The power of an inspector. I will not use any resources of the Freedom Army to secretly investigate this matter. Inspector Chen Yazhao was slightly startled. There used to be a position similar to the inspector in the Free Army, but the power was too great, so it was abolished a long time ago. However, the Galaxy Free Army has reached a life and death moment. If they can't even investigate their own corruption, how can they defeat the Imperial Army? Well, then I will appoint you as the inspector of the Galaxy Free Army. You can recruit the guards under your command with full authority. It has become an independent legion. Your authority is above all legions. The most important thing is that you have the power of law enforcement. If there is conclusive evidence, you can dismiss any position below the legion commander. Xia Xingchen, obey the order. Xia Xingchen was secretly amazed. Chen Yazhao was so decisive that he gave him such an important position as the inspector without any thought. Don't use people you doubt, and don't doubt people you use. This is the style of a king. No wonder, as a resistance organization, the Galaxy Free Army has been resisting the tyranny of the Empire for so many years. In the hands of Chen Yazhao, the Galaxy Free Army has been carried forward and has the power to change the pattern of the galaxy. Xia Xingchen, I'll leave this matter to you. Remember, no matter how big a mess you make, no matter how big a trouble you cause, I'll support you. Chen Yazhao said in a deep voice. Uncle Chen, with your words, everything is enough. Xia Xingchen was moved. Just based on a few words from him, the leader of an organization entrusted a young man like him with an important task. This kind of affection, this trust, is not family, but better than family. Chapter 1337 Upstart. Xia Xingchen got the identity certificate of the inspector of the Galaxy Freedom Army. Afterwards, Chen Yazhao publicly announced that he had just appointed an inspector to investigate the military discipline of the Galaxy Freedom Army. The Legion commanders of the Galaxy Freedom Army all received this statement, but they all thought that this was Chen Yazhao's way of boosting the morale of the army and did not take it seriously at all. The statement only mentioned that a new inspector had been appointed and did not mention Xia Xingchen's name at all. Even the Legion commanders who saw the statement laughed and threw the statement into the trash can. After Xia Xingchen said goodbye to Chen Tingting and Freya, he quietly returned to the Star Domain Arc. Chen Yazhao looked at Xia Xingchen's back as he left and could not help but sigh. Xingchen. Chen Tingting was reluctant to leave, her big eyes filled with tears, and she kept muttering. Tingting, you have to understand that this is what a real man does. The joys and sorrows of a small family, the love between children. Compared with the rise and fall of the entire empire, the war and turmoil, and even the fate of mankind, it is really too small. Xia Xingchen does not have you in his heart, but he has more important things to do. Freya persuaded. Sister Freya, I understand what you said. But, Chen Tingting cried and threw herself into Freya's arms. Freya sighed and whispered, in fact, I'm the same as you. I can talk about the truth, but I can't do it. This may be fate. The fate of a woman who falls in love with Xia Xingchen. The Star Domain Arc stopped on a planet not far from the Freedom Space Station. Xia Xingchen returned to the Star Domain Arc and immediately found Li Huamui to learn about the battle situation between the Galactic Freedom Army and the Imperial Army. The battle on the front line is fierce. Qin Yan is serious this time. He has called back 2 elite fleets from the northern front. The Galaxy Freedom Army is no match at all and has lost most of the starfield. Li Huamui had already sorted out the materials. With a tactical stick in her hand, she kept lighting up the three-dimensional star map and analyzing the battle situation. Yeah. Xia Xingchen nodded slightly with appreciation. Whether it is vision, pattern, or ability to analyze the battle situation, Li Huamui is becoming more and more like a professional captain. You know, Li Huamui was born a star pirate, but she has never attended a military school. The fact that she can make such a comprehensive analysis and a well-reasoned judgment shows that she has spent a lot of time studying those boring military masterpieces in private. What will happen if the battle situation does not turn around? Xia Xingchen asked directly. The losing side will definitely be the Galaxy Freedom Army. However, Qin Imperial Starship cannot completely wipe out the Galaxy Freedom Army. The Galaxy Freedom Army has a very long history. At its weakest, it only had one small starship and a dozen mecha divisions. The Galaxy Freedom Army's army cannot be called strong. What is truly strong is their belief in pursuing freedom and resisting tyranny. As long as the belief survives, the spirit of the Galaxy Freedom Army will not disappear. Li Huamui also became excited, with an excited look on her face. Xia Xingchen took the lead in applauding, and the other generals in the conference room followed suit, cheering for Li Huamui's words with applause. Well said. Faith is immortal, and the military spirit is not extinguished. After the applause, Xia Xingchen commented, if I had not joined the Empire first, I would have joined the Galactic Freedom Army just for this sentence, to pursue freedom and resist tyranny. Li Huamui blushed slightly. Sir, you are too kind. Xia Xingchen nodded. Go on. In your opinion, where is the weakness of the Galactic Freedom Army? Li Huamui waved the baton in his hand, and the three-dimensional screen changed, and a series of tables appeared, explaining, these tables are the military expenditures of the Galactic Freedom Army and the financial income of the occupied planets. Simply put, the biggest problem of the Galactic Freedom Army is that there is no money. Every bullet, every laser, every mecha, and every starship, all cost money. Interstellar wars are not only about tactics and strategies, but also about the economy and real money. Xia Xingchen nodded in agreement. Before, Qin led the Empire Starship Army and defeated Nicholas's hometown like a rotten wood. Why is the war situation in the north so tense and trapped in the quagmire of war? The reason is very simple. Xia Xingchen's series of activities in the north destroyed the economic foundation of the Northern Empire. Later, the gods entered the scene and Qin's command failed, which gave Nicholas a chance to breathe. In short, if the Galaxy Freedom Army can solve the problem of military expenditure, it may not be unable to withstand the strong attack of the Empire starships. When Qin's offensive is over, Nicholas is naturally not a fool, and he will also put pressure on the northern front. Qin has only one way to go, which is to withdraw his troops. Li Huamui said, Chen Yuzhou asked us for help, not to let us be the vanguard and confront the Empire head-on. He was just in case, afraid that Qin would burn his boats and lead the army to raid the Freedom Space Station at all costs. Therefore, the front line is fighting fiercely, and we are only on defensive standby in the near future. Well, I understand. Xia Xingchen stood up, with a dazzling brilliance in his eyes, and smiled. Sister Huamui, the Star Domain Arc is handed over to you. Li Huamui was stunned, and said in surprise, my lord, are you leaving again? Xia Xingchen smiled and said, leave for a while, and do something important. Tixing, Zumoi, and Zaka, you lead the Legion, and stand by on the Star Domain Arc. With your combat power, you can easily change the outcome of a battle. But, don't take action, unless it is absolutely necessary. Yes, sir. Everyone stood at attention and saluted. Xia Xingchen turned around again, and said to Miyamoto Kenichi and Keela, you two go and call Nina and Rasfan. The five of us will do something important together. Miyamoto Kenichi and Keela were surprised, and happy when they heard this. Boss, you are willing to take us with you? Great. What big thing are you going to do? Xia Xingchen smiled mysteriously. Spend money. One day later, a small spaceship left the Star Domain Arc and flew towards a planet called Heaven. The style of this spaceship has a strong oriental style. The hull looks like a giant dragon. The hull is covered with layers of golden scales, revealing a luxurious atmosphere everywhere. Inside the spaceship, there were shining gems, antique calligraphy and paintings everywhere. The walls, floors, and ceilings were all gold. Xia Xingchen had piled all the luxurious things he had seen and could think of into this 50-meter-long small spaceship. Keeler was also a person who had seen big scenes. When he walked into the cabin for the first time, he was stunned. "Boss, this spaceship is too ostentatious," Keeler said with surprise and stammered. "If you have something to say, just say it directly. Don't be so secretive. What do you mean by ostentatious?" Xia Xingchen picked up an ivory toothpick on the table and picked his teeth. Ivory is not uncommon in the universe. However, on each toothpick, there is an exquisite landscape painting engraved by laser, which is a bit scary. Keeler gritted his teeth, closed his eyes, stamped his feet and said, "Boss, you told me to say this. This spaceship is indeed not ostentatious, but tacky. It is full of the smell of money. It is so vulgar. Only the Navo-Rish from a third-rate country planet would have such bad taste." Xia Xingchen smiled. "Keeler, you are right. The role we play this time is the Navo-Rish." Chapter 1338 Paradise Auction. Navo-Rish? Everyone looked at Xia Xingchen in surprise, not understanding what he was up to. Xia Xingchen smiled and explained to them, "There are people in the Galaxy Freedom Army who are selling slaves. This behavior violates the military discipline of the Galaxy Freedom Army and shakes the foundation of the Freedom Army, which is a disgrace to the Freedom Army. The place of the transaction is on the target planet of our trip, Heaven Star. This planet is the commercial center of the nearby starfield, and there are large auctions on it. Our purpose is to spend money. Spend money lavishly. Buy as many slaves as possible. Try every possible way to lure out the man behind the scenes." Everyone suddenly realized that the purpose of this trip was just to spend money, and they all smiled. The small spaceship with a luxurious appearance and shining golden light had just landed at the airport of Heaven Star, which attracted the attention of many people. Heaven Star, located in the southwest of Penglay Starfield, is a planet with beautiful scenery and pleasant climate, as its name suggests, with flowers and plants everywhere, blue sky, and birds singing and flowers blooming. The most eye-catching city in the entire Paradise Star is its central city, Paradise City. The most dazzling building in the city is the huge building, Paradise Auction House. Paradise Auction House ranks among the top 10 auction houses in the entire Galactic Empire. In this place, as long as you have money, you can buy anything. It is a paradise for the rich. After a simple registration, Xia Xingchen and the other 5 left the airport and went straight to the Paradise Auction House. However, they were stopped by the staff in front of the Paradise Auction House. "Are you members of the Paradise Auction House?" A staff member in a silver uniform came over arrogantly and asked with squinting eyes. "We are not members. What's wrong? Your auction house is open for business. Is there any reason not to let customers in?" Keeler stepped forward and negotiated with the staff. "Sir, I'm sorry. The Paradise Auction House is holding a large auction held every 3 years. If you are not a member, you are not eligible to enter the venue. If you need to buy any auction items, you can pay an additional 10% commission and let the auction house purchase it on your behalf." The staff member had a smile on his face, but his eyes were full of contempt, and he obviously regarded Xia Xingchen and others as country bumpkins. Keeler was a little angry and was about to argue with the staff, but he heard Xia Xingchen's cold voice. "Don't talk nonsense with him. Ask him how to become a member." Seeing Xia Xingchen's confident words, the staff was slightly startled, and his attitude became better. "You can become a member by recharging. Recharging 100,000 star crystals means you are an ordinary member. Recharging 1 million star crystals means you are a senior member. Recharging 2 million star crystals." Xia Xingchen waved his hand impatiently. "I don't want to listen to your nonsense. Just tell me, how much does the highest level membership cost?" "You heard it right. I mean the highest level, something like Super Supreme VIP. The highest level membership?" The staff was stunned. This person was too arrogant. He asked for a recharge of the highest level membership as soon as he opened his mouth. Is it true, or is he kidding me? Seeing the man hesitate, Xia Xingchen snapped his fingers, and Lucifer immediately took out a crystal card and handed it to him. "There is a tip of 1000 star crystals on this card. Don't hesitate. Our young master has a bad temper." "Ah, a tip of 1000 star crystals?" The staff member's face suddenly showed an expression of disbelief, and then he couldn't help but show respect. 1000 star crystals, not 1000 star coins. My goodness. He worked in the auction house for a year and couldn't make so much money, even if he worked hard. This staff member has seen many ordinary rich people, but it was the first time he saw someone as generous as Xia Xingchen. What? A tip of 1000 star crystals in one shot. Where did this person come from? So rich. He looks unfamiliar. I have never seen him before. There are many rich people in the empire. How can we have seen all of them? Who knows? He might be a rich young noble from a wealthy family. For a while, there were many exclamations around Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen's face was normal, and he was used to this kind of situation. Go aside. I will receive this distinguished guest. A woman in a golden short skirt came over. She was tall and pretty, and her words were commanding. Xia Xingchen smiled in her heart. The staff member just now was of a very low rank in the Paradise auction house. He was a grassroots staff member, and had no authority. No matter how much he said to him, it would be like talking to a cow. However, the woman who came in front of him was different. She should be a senior executive of the auction house. As soon as the woman appeared, the previous staff members hurriedly stepped aside. She hurriedly invited Xia Xingchen and others to the VIP room inside the auction house and explained, "My name is Royu, and I'm the key account manager of the auction house. May I ask what is your name, young master?" Xia Xingchen said lightly, "Dracula." The legend of Dracula is widely spread in the Northern Empire, but it is just an ordinary name in Penglai Star region. Royu frowned slightly, thinking hard in her mind whether there is a wealthy family with the surname Dracula in Penglai Star region, but she found nothing. The universe is too big, there are too many humans, and there are also many rich people. Some unknown families are not well known on the surface, but their background is extremely profound. Master Dracula, what do you want to buy at our auction this time? Mecha, spaceships, weapons, or a pitiful mermaid girl, a strong warrior of the Fiery Sun clan, or other cosmic treasures? No matter what it is, our auction house can buy it, as long as you have money. How much money are you prepared to recharge to buy the goods? Royu handed Xia Xingchen a tablet computer with a lot of product information on it. However, Xia Xingchen didn't even look at it, and looked at Royu. How much does it cost to recharge the highest level VIP membership? Royu was stunned and smiled bitterly. Master Dracula, there is no upper limit to the service of our auction. The more you recharge, the better the service you get. So far, the highest record of one-time recharge is 10 million star crystals. Royu straightened her chest and looked proud. 10 million star crystals. This is an inestimable and huge wealth. Some ancient families can't come up with so much money, even if they empty their coffers. Even the treasury of the Galactic Empire may not have so much money under Qin Yun's long-term deficit. You know, Nicholas spent nearly 100 million star coins to build the Son of the Fiery Sun mecha for Andre, which emptied all his family assets. 10 million star crystals, converted into star coins according to the current exchange rate, can roughly buy 5 to 10 Sons of the Fiery Sun. Xia Xingchen smiled. Only 10 million star crystals? That's too stingy. I'll recharge 100 million star crystals first, and buy some things to play with. Chapter 1339 Crazy Shopping. Recharge 100 million star crystals? Just for fun. Royu was so surprised that she almost bit her tongue. Keela, Lucifin, you two go with her and get it done. Xia Xingchen ordered. Keela and Lucifin nodded and followed Royu to go through the transfer and recharge procedures. Soon, the procedures were completed. Royu's face was flushed and radiant. She became more respectful to Xia Xingchen and took them to a separate VIP room. The structure of this VIP room was exactly the same as the auction house on the Black Tower Star. There was a huge square under the window in front. There were many seats inside. The crowd was bustling, and the seats were full of people, as if waiting for the auction to officially begin. Money makes the world go round. In the chaotic starfield, the star pirates talked about strength in addition to money. But in the Empire, money is omnipotent. Master Dracula, there is still some time before the auction officially starts. This time we have more than 1 million items for auction. Among them are cosmic treasures and mecha spaceships, but they are all exquisite and expensive. You'd better get a general understanding first, otherwise it would be a pity to miss the items you want to buy. Roy looked at Xia Xingchen's face carefully and said, more than 1 million items cannot be auctioned at the same booth, and hundreds of auction booths are auctioning at the same time. Of course, on a personal terminal, you can operate at the same time and bid on various auction items. When the time is up, the highest bidder wins, which is very convenient. Everything is available. What a big tone. Xia Xingchen couldn't help laughing. Even the first auction house in the galaxy on Shineon Star would not dare to say such arrogant words. What products do you need to buy? Tell me. Roy was very confident in her auction house. Xia Xingchen got the last 2 sacred beast statues from the beast god star and has asked Xia to help analyze the mecha blueprints. The main body of the Qinglang mecha is the Qinglang sacred tree. The main body of the Suzuki mecha is the energy crystallization after the death of the 3-legged golden crow. These 2 materials are rare and cannot be bought, even if you have money. The material needed for the Xuanwu mecha is the Xuanwu ice crystal. Only in the deep ice layer of the ice planet covered with ice and snow all year round, and with extremely low temperatures, there are very small amounts of minerals. As for the white tiger mecha, the material needed is a special metal called white tiger Zhengjin. Xia Xingchen has never heard of it. Xia Xingchen also wanted to give it a try, so he said to Royu, Xuanwu ice crystal, Beihu Zhengjin. Are you auctioning all these 2 things? Roy quickly looked down to check his personal terminal, but naturally found nothing. He forced an apologetic smile on his face. Master, no. Do these 2 things really exist in the universe? Why have I never heard of them? Xia Xingchen snorted. The universe is so big, let alone you. Even if you are a celestial being, you can't know everything and do everything. Miyamoto, Keeler, Rusfan, Nina. If you want anything, just ask. Xia Xingchen said in a very arrogant tone. He got the treasure of the assassin organization, 3 mountains of star crystals, which were the wealth accumulated by the assassins after thousands of years and countless assassinations. Naturally, he was full of confidence. Yes. Everyone nodded. The auction officially began. Master, I want this knife. Miyamoto Kenichi knelt down in front of Xia Xingchen and asked. What kind of sword? Is it worth kneeling down to beg me? Xia Xingchen raised his eyebrows, looking surprised. Under the guidance of Miyamoto Kenichi, the 3D screen in the room jumped to a booth. The auction items on this booth are basically ancient weapons. Most of them are cold weapons, and some are ancient gunpowder guns. There was a jade box on the booth, and inside it was a Japanese longsword, almost without a hilt. There were layers of cloud patterns on the blade. Lying in the box, the cold light shone everywhere, and the strong murderous aura emanated from the sword. Good sword. Xia Xingchen raised his eyebrows, and couldn't help but praise. This sword is the famous demon sword Miramasa in the Earth era. It has been passed down from the Earth era to the present, and it has a history of thousands of years. It is well preserved, and has certification documents from authoritative departments. It is definitely a genuine Muramasa. Countless cold weapon collectors are chasing after it. The price is very high, with a starting price of 1 million star crystals. Roy introduced it quickly. What's the use of a knife? Selling it for 1 million star crystals? Rusifan was secretly shocked. He was good at fighting with bare hands. In his opinion, cold weapons were useless. What do you know? Miyamoto Kenichi snorted coldly. When I look at this knife, I see murderous intent. It is definitely a demon knife. In addition to its collection value and ornamental value, I can use its murderous aura to understand the way of swordsmanship. Well, good idea. This knife is very useful to you. Xia Xingchen nodded and agreed with Miyamoto Kenichi's opinion. The so-called murderous aura is actually a kind of mental power. The previous generation of swordsmen used this knife to practice swordsmanship and kill enemies. Over time, mental power remained on the blade. With Miyamoto Kenichi's mental power and kendo talent, getting this knife is like getting countless swordsmen to teach him swordsmanship. Buy it. Xia Xingchen raised his hand without hesitation and signaled Ryu. Ryu hurriedly took charge of the quotation. In the end, Xia Xingchen bought the demon sword Miramasa at a price of 1.5 million star crystals and gave it directly to Miyamoto Kenichi. Miyamoto Kenichi knelt down again and was grateful to Xia Xingchen. After Miyamoto Kenichi, Rusifan also asked Xia Xingchen and spent 3 million star crystals to buy a huge coffin. Rusifan, you are too weird. Why did you buy a coffin? Keela said strangely. What do you know? This coffin has a great origin. Maybe it can cure my genetic disease. Rusifan was very excited and didn't say it directly. Nina bought a lot of luxury goods, brand name handbags, cosmetics and the like. In the end, she bought 2 purebred Persian cats as pets. After all, she is a woman and has a natural love of beauty. Keela didn't care and wanted everything, but after taking a look, he didn't want it anymore. Boss, don't care about me. I'm a casual person and don't want anything special. Otherwise, buy me some food. I saw a booth selling delicacies from all over the universe, including charcoal grilled pterosaur steaks, which look very good. Keela said with a smile. Well, buy whatever you want to eat. And these foods contain special element. Eating more is good for the body. Xia Xingchen smiled and nodded, swiping his fingers on the screen. He mainly visited the spaceship mecha area. If he saw any mecha parts and raw materials that caught his eye, he would buy them all, no matter how much they cost. He also bought all the structural diagrams of the spiritual power painting, and he was crazy about it. Roy was surprised and envious of the huge amount of star crystals spent. This is the life of rich people. You can buy whatever you want. So happy. Roy sighed. Chapter 1340, Big Tyrant. As the auction progressed, Xia Xingchen and his friends spent money like water, squandering all the 100 million star crystals. Roy was stunned watching from the side, and she looked at Xia Xingchen with a new look. She was now sure that the young master Dracula in front of her was a real tycoon who spent money like water. Young master, the highlight of this auction will start in 10 minutes. Do you want to participate? Roy reminded. The highlight. Xia Xingchen raised his eyebrows. What is it? Slave trading. Roy said. It's not a small slave trading, but a large one. Ordinary people are not qualified to participate, but you have the financial resources. If you are willing, I can report it to the higher ups and provide you with an extra seat. Xia Xingchen smiled in his heart. This was the purpose of his trip, and he finally waited for it. I'm interested. You can arrange it. By the way, recharge another 300 million star crystals. Xia Xingchen said to Roy with a smile. Okay, young master. Roy was overjoyed. After completing the formalities, she personally led Xia Xingchen and his party to the top floor of the venue. The booths that were trying to sell goods were arranged on this floor, and ordinary buyers were not qualified to enter. Those who could enter this floor were either rich or noble. They were all dressed in neat suits, knew each other, and chatted. Haha, Manager Peter of Huashan Mining. I didn't expect that we would meet again. A fat man with a big belly waved to a middle-aged white man not far away. Oh, it turns out to be Boss Zhao of Polar Heavy Industry. You actually came in person. The middle-aged white man nodded slightly, with a faint smile on his face. Haha, Huashan Mining is rich and powerful. At the auction later, you have to let me go a little and leave some slaves for me. Our company is short of manpower recently, and it is very short of manpower. Boss Zhao smiled. Try your best. The war in the front is tight, and the demand for minerals is increasing. The number of miners in our company is also very short. Manager Peter said politely. Similar conversations filled the entire venue. Countless corporate compradors, organization agents, and even agents of the Imperial Army gathered together, waiting to buy slaves. Huashan Mining and Polar Heavy Industry. I have heard of these companies. They are all well-known large companies in the Empire. Do they also need to buy slaves? Keela couldn't help but look surprised. The success of these big capitalists is built on the bones of miners and slaves. Humans have set foot on the galaxy, but the essence of the cannibalistic society has not changed. In fact, with the current technology of mankind, fully automated production and robot operation are already fully realized. However, in order to reduce costs, these capitalists still choose to use slaves, miners, and these cheap labor. After all, the biggest advantage of humans is their strong fertility and large population. Xia Xingchen frowned, looking at these pot-bellied capitalists in the meeting room in front of him, and felt sick in his heart. Demand stimulates the market. The escalation of the war between the Galactic Empire and the Northern Empire has made the heavy industry of the Empire prosperous again. They need more labor to maintain capital operations. In addition, Qin Yuan tore up the Princess Agreement signed by Qin Jaina and Xia Xingchen, which made the slave trade, which had begun to shrink, flourish again. Each of the capitalists present was rich and ready to defeat their opponents in the next slave auction, and buy enough slaves at a suitable price. The slave auction officially began. An auctioneer in a suit walked onto the stage and, after a brief opening speech, introduced the first auction item of this auction. 5,000 young orc men. The reserve price for each orc male is 100 star crystals, and at least 100 can be bought. There is no upper limit on the bidding, and the auction begins. The auctioneer announced, 1,000,000 star crystals, 5,000, I want them all. An auctioneer immediately raised his sign. I'll offer 2,000,000 star crystals. Someone shouted in the venue. 3,000,000. Bids came one after another, and soon the price rose to 5,000,000 star crystals. The orcs are strong, hardworking, and not as stupid as they seem. They can adapt to many dangerous jobs. In addition, Qin Yuan's deliberate killing has caused the number of orcs to decrease rapidly, and the price has also risen. The price remained at 5,000,000 star crystals, and no one has bid again. Therefore, the people present were basically capitalists. They were all calculating the cost in their minds. If the price of the slaves purchased was too high, exceeded the cost, and was no longer cheap, then it would be better to use robots to work. After all, robots were more efficient. 6,000,000. Xia Xingchen shouted this number without hesitation. Countless people looked at Xia Xingchen, and these eyes had all kinds of emotions, most of which were mocking. Because 6,000,000 star crystals to buy 5,000 orc slaves, it was already beyond the cost of these slaves, and in the eyes of these capitalists, it was a very unwise choice. 6,000,000 star crystals to buy these green-skinned cubs, this kid lost a lot. Haha, I don't know where this stupid boy came from. Don't you know how to control costs? 6,000,000 instead of using orcs, it's better to use robots. At least robots won't riot. Amid the capitalists' discussions, the auction hammer fell, and Xia Xingchen bought 5,000 orc slaves at the price of 6,000,000 star crystals. Master, this price seems a bit high. Roy stood aside and reminded, 4,000 gold coins cannot buy my happiness. Xia Xingchen smiled faintly, but his heart was filled with emotion. Maybe in the eyes of others, the lives of slaves are equal to money. But in Xia Xingchen's opinion, the life of any person is priceless, and cannot be measured by money. Not to mention buying 5,000 orc slaves with 6,000,000 star crystals, even if it is just buying one orc slave. As long as he can be rescued from the sea of suffering, the money is worth it. Next, the second auction item is 10,000 human slaves. The auctioneer rang the hammer, and reminded everyone to start the auction. Human slaves. 50 star crystals each, at least 100 will be purchased. These human slaves are young and strong men captured from various planets. They are of mixed composition, but they are the highlight of the auction. Many people competed to bid, and quickly pushed the price of this batch of slaves to 8,000,000 star crystals. 10,000,000 star crystals, I want them all. Xia Xingchen's face was indifferent, and he quoted an astonishingly high price at the end. In an instant, the entire auction venue was in an uproar. This kid again. 10,000,000 star crystals to buy these slaves. One slave costs 1,000 star crystals. That's outrageous. Who is he, and where does he get so much money? Faced with the endless questions, Xia Xingchen just replied calmly, I have money, I'm willing to do it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1341, Lure the Snake Out of Its Hole. Due to Xia Xingchen's arrogant response, the atmosphere in the auction hall suddenly became a little weird. I don't know where this young man came from. How dare he look down on us like this? Humph. He may be a rich kid who has just started out and doesn't know how high the sky is. In the next auction, I will let him know what it means that there are always people better than you. The one who sticks out gets shot. Young man, no matter how rich you are, can you buy all the slaves? The businessmen and capitalists in the venue looked at Xia Xingchen with hostility in their eyes. They all felt ashamed and lost face, and prepared to deliberately raise the price for Xia Xingchen in the next auction, to see how long he can be arrogant. The third auction began. The auction item is 1000 ice dwarves. Ice dwarves are a peculiar race that lives in the ice layer of a cold planet. The distribution of the Antarctic starfield is relatively wide. The social mentality of this race is very primitive, still a primitive clan society, but every ice dwarf is a mining expert. Especially the mineral veins on some cold planets, which even robots cannot dig, but the ice dwarves can dig them easily. The starting price of the ice dwarves is very high, 1000 star crystals for each one. Xia Xingchen still goes his own way and bids 10 million star crystals in the end, surpassing everyone else. 11 million star crystals. This time it was not so smooth. A fat man deliberately raised the price, and raised his hand and shouted, 12 million star crystals. Xia Xingchen's face remained unchanged, and his hand holding the wine glass did not move at all. 10 million to 30 million star crystals. The fat man retreated, but others raised the price. After Xia Xingchen's orderly bidding, these bidders all had weak voices and cold sweat on their foreheads. After all, they are businessmen, and profit seeking is their instinct. Buying these slaves at a high price is obviously a loss-making business. It is understandable that they have a momentary dispute of will, but they don't have enough courage to keep bidding with Xia Xingchen. In the end, Xia Xingchen bought this batch of ice dwarves at the price of 17 million star crystals. His face was still normal, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised, and a faint smile on his face. In the next few slave auctions, the final result was that Xia Xingchen bought the slaves at a high price. There began to be a commotion in the venue. The capitalists and businessmen present were not fools. They saw that this young man named Master Dracula came here today to ruin the scene. No matter what race the slaves were, no matter how much money they cost, he would buy them without frowning. It was clear that the others present today would go back empty-handed. Boy, leave a way out when you do things. I hope to see you in the future. Which family are you from? You are destroying our ice bowls like this. Aren't you afraid of offending us? A middle-aged man walked up to Xia Xingchen and said coldly, "Get out." Miyamoto Kenichi, Keeler, and Ruthven stepped forward and blocked the middle-aged man. They exuded a powerful aura that made people tremble with fear. Seeing the three fierce-looking burly men in front of him, the middle-aged man immediately wilted and quickly retreated. This is an auction. Everyone can bid fairly. The highest bidder wins. Xia Xingchen smiled and said loudly, "I don't look down on everyone here. All of you put together are not as rich as I am. If you don't believe it, you can try it." Xia Xingchen's words were equivalent to going against all the capitalists present. Suddenly, these sanctimonious businessmen blushed and scolded Xia Xingchen for being arrogant and ignorant. "You can scold as much as you want. You can buy a slave today. Even if you win." Xia Xingchen laughed loudly, like a second-generation rich man who was playing the game of the world and spending money like water. The capitalists at the venue scolded, but they were not fools. They were all smart people. Seeing that Xia Xingchen was so confident, they didn't dare to really tear their faces with him. The following slave auctions were all under Xia Xingchen's control. Xia Xingchen bought all the slaves at an outrageous high price. The entire auction venue became Xia Xingchen's show. Many capitalists were so angry that they could only leave in anger and exit early. Finally, the slave auction ended. The total transaction amount reached an astonishing 10 billion star crystals. Linley, the general manager of the Paradise Auction House, rushed over after hearing the news and personally invited Xia Xingchen into the VIP room, treating him with great respect. "Master Dracula, please forgive me for being so rude. Do you have any use for buying so many slaves?" Linley adjusted his glasses and asked. "Use? To build planets?" Xia Xingchen said lightly, "I have 4 or 5 idle mining planets in the Chaos Star region, and I need a lot of manpower to build them. But these slaves are not enough. So that's how the mining planets in the Chaos Star region are." Linley suddenly realized that it was no wonder that the young man in front of him had an unknown origin and spent money like water. It turned out that he was from the Chaos Star region, and 9 out of 10 times, he had some relationship with the new domain lord Edward. It was probably Edward's agent. No wonder he was so rich. "Master Dracula, Are you interested in buying more slaves to build your planet? Lin asked with a flash of his eyes. Of course. Xia Xingchen's eyes flashed with a cold light, and he was secretly happy. So much money was not wasted. It turned out that the snake was lured out of the hole, and the real owner was about to appear. That's great. I know a big shot. He still has a lot of slaves. If you are willing, I can introduce him to you. I will only take 3% commission. What do you think? Lin fumbled with his hands, stood up, and his expression was a little excited. Money is a small matter. Xia Xingchen said lightly. Where is that person? Lin said, that person's identity is special, and he can't come to Heaven Star. I can arrange to meet him on his spaceship. However, you can't bring any followers. You can only meet him alone. Xia Xingchen's heart trembled. This is obviously a hangman banquet. This person's status in the Galaxy Freedom Army must be extremely high. Only then can he be so cunning and act so cautiously. Xia Xingchen pretended to think about it, discussed with Keeley and others, and finally said to Lin, okay, it's just a business talk, I can do it alone. And taking this opportunity to meet an important person is not in vain. Lin smiled. Okay, I'll arrange it now. 3 days later, Lin took Xia Xingchen to a small spaceship and flew into space. Not long after, behind a desolate planet, the small spaceship landed on the apron of a huge starship. It's really the starship of the Galactic Freedom Army. Xia Xingchen saw the logo on the starship and thought to himself. A senior general in a general's uniform personally greeted him at the door with a smile on his face and said to Xia Xingchen, I'm Gordon. I'm sorry for not welcoming you from afar. Chapter 1342, A Heinous Sin. Lin's face was full of smiles. He explained to Xia Xingchen, this is General Gordon. He is very powerful in the Galaxy Freedom Army. Xia Xingchen smiled faintly. I have heard of this name. Xia Xingchen had read the information of the generals of the Galaxy Freedom Army. In addition to the 9 Legion commanders, Chen Yao's subordinates also had 3 generals. General Gordon was one of them. He was Chen Yao's most capable subordinate. He controlled 3 elite legions with nearly 100,000 starships and millions of mechas. The 5th Legion was the legion under General Gordon. However, such a powerful general who held military power openly violated the military orders of the Galaxy Freedom Army and sold slaves. Xia Xingchen felt a chill in his heart. You. General Gordon looked at Xia Xingchen. His pupils suddenly shrank to the size of a needle tip, and his face could not hide the surprise. General Gordon, this is Master Dracula. Do you know him? Lin was startled. Looking at Gordon's reaction, he clearly recognized this mysterious and wealthy nobleman. I know him. Of course I know him. My Gordon's eyes are not blind. How can I not help but the famous Xingchen Hao? Gordon squeezed out a few sneers from between his teeth and suddenly raised his right hand. Swish. The surrounding soldiers immediately rushed over with guns in hand, surrounded Xia Xingchen and Lin in the center, and pointed the black muzzles of their guns at Xia Xingchen. The situation suddenly became tense. Xia Xingchen's face remained unchanged, calm and composed, his eyes staring at General Gordon. Lin was panicked. His forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat, his voice trembled, and he asked, General Gordon, what Xingchen Hao, what are you talking about? Why don't I understand? General Gordon and Xia Xingchen had never met before. But as a general of the Galactic Freedom Army, he still had good eyesight. Xia Xingchen was so famous in the Galactic Empire that he was even more famous than the Emperor of the Empire. He had also read Xia Xingchen's information before and carefully studied several classic battles in which he defeated the enemy with fewer troops and turned defeat into victory. In addition, Xia Xingchen did not deliberately disguise his face, so he was naturally recognized by General Gordon at a glance. Xia Xingchen has a close relationship with the Galaxy Freedom Army, especially with Chen Tingting. In order to rescue Chen Tingting, he even turned the Northern Empire upside down with his own strength. Xia Xingchen used the alias Master Dracula and bought a large number of slaves. General Gordon immediately felt that something was wrong and cursed Lin, a blind guy, countless times in his heart. However, it was too late for General Gordon to regret it. He could only fight against the enemy and cover up the water and try his best to suppress the matter. Lin, you really don't know the famous Xingchen Hao? General Gordon controlled the situation, and his mood was slightly calmer. He stared at Lin Li coldly. Xingchen, how? Could it be that big shot? You are the legendary Xia Xingchen. Lin Li's eyes widened, looking at the young man in front of him with a faint smile, feeling that his soul was drained. Xia Xingchen, the most legendary young man in the Galactic Empire. Princess Crossing's fiancé. The most wanted criminal in the Empire. A combat hero with outstanding military exploits. Xia Xingchen has too many titles. His legends are spread in the streets and alleys of every planet in the Galactic Empire. There are mixed opinions about him, which are very controversial. Some people think he is a hero. Some people think he is the most vicious gangster. It turned out to be you. You have hurt me badly. Lin Li had also heard about the close relationship between Xia Xingchen and Chen Tingting. The two seemed to be confidants. He immediately understood why General Gordon was, as if he was facing a formidable enemy, when he saw Xia Xingchen facing the muzzle of the gun that could spray deadly rays at any time. Xia Xingchen was calm and composed, not panicking at all. He looked at General Gordon with interest and asked, "General, is this your way of entertaining guests? I came here this time not because I wanted to, but you invited me to come and discuss business with me face to face." General Gordon sneered, "There is no business for us to discuss. Xia Xingchen, what does my slave trade have to do with you? Why are you meddling in other people's business?" Xia Xingchen smiled faintly, took out the badge of the Inspector General, and placed it in front of General Gordon. "You said I was meddling in other people's business? Do you know what this is? What is this?" General Gordon's pupils shrank again, and he saw clearly that there was the emblem of the Galactic Freedom Army on the badge, a dazzling galaxy with 3 large silver characters on it. "Inspector General. Inspector General. You are the Inspector General just appointed by the leader. It turned out to be you." General Gordon was shocked, and finally realized that Xia Xingchen's trip was indeed aimed at him. "Gordon, you violated the order of the Galaxy Freedom Army and sold slaves. You have committed a heinous crime. As the inspector, I order you to surrender immediately. Follow me back to the Freedom Space Station, meet the leader, and convict him according to military law." Xia Xingchen shouted coldly. He is the inspector, a man appointed by the leader to enforce military discipline. The surrounding soldiers were immediately shaken, and some of them had lowered their guns, not daring to point them at Xia Xingchen. "Have I committed a heinous crime?" General Gordon's body suddenly shook. The panic on his face disappeared in an instant, and then he sneered. "Yes, I'm selling slaves, which violated military orders. But it is not your turn to arrest me. We soldiers fought bravely on the front line. Chen Yazhao is enjoying life and death in the rear, and he sent you to arrest me and judge me? Humph, why don't you ask the soldiers present why we sell slaves? Is the military expenditure from the rear enough for our daily expenses? We have to eat and have weapons and equipment when we fight. The military expenditure he gave is useless." Hearing General Gordon's words, the soldiers around him nodded slightly, showing injustice. Under the encirclement and suppression of the Imperial Army, the Galaxy Freedom Army suffered successive defeats, and the logistics supply could not keep up, and some fleets even ran out of supplies. Chen Yazhao also ordered the fleets to find ways to overcome the difficulties. Although General Gordon violated military discipline, he was indignant in his heart and thought that he was just following orders. "Gordon!" Xia Xingchen immediately shouted. "Everyone knows that the Freedom Army is in trouble. You plundered foreign races and sold them to raise military funds. Although it violated military discipline, it is understandable. But don't forget why the Galactic Freedom Army exists." Gordon was silent and pursed his lips. Xia Xingchen shouted coldly, "If you don't say it, I will say it for you. The Galactic Freedom Army fights for the freedom and equality of mankind, and against the tyranny of the Empire. Most of the soldiers of the Freedom Army are minors. I'm a minor myself. I used to regard the Galactic Freedom Army as a righteous army. However, you not only sell foreign races, but also sell fellow human beings. What is the difference between your behavior and the slave traders of the Empire? You are smearing the face of the Galactic Freedom Army. I will give you another chance. Surrender. I will plead for you in front of the leader and spare your life." Chapter 1343 Killing Gordon. Xia Xingchen's speech was full of emotion, reason, and righteousness. General Gordon opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but nothing came out. The soldiers around him knew that they were in the wrong, and they lowered their heads with shame on their faces. "General Gordon, take off your military uniform and put on the handcuffs." Xia Xingchen threw a pair of handcuffs at General Gordon's feet. However, General Gordon suddenly looked up. A strange smile appeared on his face, staring at Xia Xingchen, and said, "Xia Xingchen, you are right. I'm smearing the face of the Galactic Freedom Army. But, you want me to surrender just by yourself? It's too naive. What do you want to do?" Xia Xingchen's face turned cold, staring at General Gordon, and said word by word, "Kill you. Give your head to Regent Qin Yun. He tried to recruit me before, but I refused. Now is the right time. I've had enough of the Galaxy Freedom Army, a lousy organization. Too many rules, poor treatment. I'll use you as a token of my loyalty. Qin Yun will surely reward me with a high position and generous salary. When he ascends the throne and becomes emperor, I can even be a founding hero. Killing two birds with one stone, why wouldn't I do it?" General Gordon smiled strangely. "You want to betray the Freedom Army? Join the Empire." Xia Xingchen's eyes were filled with anger. "Nonsense. You force me to do this." General Gordon looked crazy. "Your slave trade is just a minor crime, not punishable by death. If you rebel, it's treason. Anyone can kill you. You'd better think it through." Xia Xingchen shouted. "Stop talking nonsense. If I kill you, I will turn against you with my 3 legions. Then I will fight back with the Imperial Army and completely wipe out the Galaxy Freedom Army. When the time comes, I will let Xia Xingchen and her daughter accompany you to the underworld, and you will thank me." General Gordon was completely crazy. He waved his hand suddenly and ordered the soldiers on his left and right, "Shoot Xia Xingchen." Xia Xingchen suddenly stretched out his right hand. Xia Xingchen's palm was white and his skin was delicate, like a beautiful jade. When he stretched out his hand, bright starlight fell and gathered into a starry sky barrier to protect his body. You know, Xia Xingchen is now a legendary mecha master with terrifying mental power. The protective power of the starry sky barrier is very terrifying. It can even block the laser cannon of the mecha, not to mention the laser rifles in the hands of the soldiers. The power is too small. Countless lasers shot over, and the energy was all absorbed by the starry sky barrier. It's just a mere telekinetic wall. No matter how strong your mental power is, it is limited after all. You can block it for a while, but not for a lifetime. General Gordon was not panicked, and a sneer appeared on his face. However, a huge mecha appeared in the cabin out of thin air, and Xia Xingchen's body floated in the air and entered the cockpit of the mecha. Boom. The huge palm of the mecha waved and hit General Gordon heavily. This arrogant general was instantly smashed into a pulp, and blood splashed on the wall. What? Linley next to him was stunned, looking at Xia Xingchen, who was driving the mecha in disbelief. He actually killed General Gordon directly. The surrounding Free Army soldiers also couldn't believe their eyes. The terrible power of the mecha has a huge deterrent effect. Xia Xingchen made a prompt decision and killed General Gordon, shocking the whole audience. He shouted coldly, "The first culprit Gordon intended to rebel and has been killed by the supervisor. You were deceived by Gordon. Although you are accomplices, you are not guilty of death. Put down your weapons and surrender quickly. I will spare your innocence. If you dare to resist, you will all be treated as treason and killed without mercy." The soldiers were stunned on the spot, silent for a long time, and then put down their weapons and surrendered. Most of them were miners, and they were dissatisfied with General Gordon's slave trade, but they were of low status and dared not speak out. At this time, Gordon was dead, and even his confidants were afraid of Xia Xingchen's strength and did not dare to act rashly. After Xia Xingchen controlled the situation, he immediately closed the communication system of the starship, and no one was allowed to send messages out. He drove the spaceship directly to the Freedom Space Station, and at the same time, tried to contact Chen Yazhao, and told him the truth. After all, Gordon was one of the 3 generals of the Galaxy Freedom Army. He had cultivated many confidants in the Freedom Army, all of whom were middle and senior officers. If the news of Gordon's death spread, the Freedom Army would inevitably mutiny. Chen Yazhao also realized the seriousness of the matter and praised Xia Xingchen for responding in time and eliminating huge hidden dangers for the Freedom Army. At the same time, He arranged manpower to arrest and control Gordon's confidants overnight and sent confidants to take over Gordon's position. Chen Yaozhao discussed with Xia Xingchen and believed that what General Gordon did had a very bad impact. If the news spreads, it will have a huge impact on the reputation of the Galaxy Freedom Army. Therefore, it was announced to the public that General Gordon was seriously ill and recuperating and temporarily resigned from the military. A great catastrophe was thus eliminated. As for the illegal income from Gordon's slave trade, all of it was confiscated as military expenses for the Galaxy Freedom Army. In addition, Xia Xingchen took out a large number of star crystals to make up for the financial deficit of the Galaxy Freedom Army. The Galaxy Freedom Army, which was originally at a disadvantage, slowly began to turn the tide of the war and confronted the Imperial Army. The war situation became tense again. Freedom Space Station. In an office, Chen Yaozhao was discussing with Xia Xingchen. Xingchen, you are a talented general. Can you stay and help me? The Galaxy Freedom Army needs you to lead. Well, you can take over General Gordon's 3 legions. If you think it's not enough, I will give up my position and let you control the Galaxy Freedom Army, which is not a bad idea. Chen Yaozhao said in a deep voice. Me? Control the Galaxy Freedom Army? Xia Xingchen was stunned and looked at Chen Yaozhao in astonishment. What? You have the ability. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. You should shoulder this responsibility. I have been in poor health for many years, and Ting Ting has suffered. Chen Yaozhao sighed. Uncle Chen, I'm very grateful for your trust in me. However, I'm not old enough and have not enough experience. I'm not a good candidate for the leader of the Galaxy Freedom Army. Xia Xingchen said, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Facing Xia Xingchen's refusal, Chen Yaozhao's eyes flashed with disappointment, and he sighed. I understand. You are not a fish in the pond. The pool of the Galaxy Freedom Army is too shallow to retain a dragon like you. Well, what are you going to do next? Xia Xingchen's eyes flashed with a cold light. I plan to raid Xia Neo Star. Rescue Princess Yu. Raid Xia Neo Star? Chen Yaozhao was stunned. He was silent for a while, clapped his hands and smiled. It is true that heroes emerge from youth. Raid Xia Neo Star. Such a big move. Only you dare to think and do it. And it is possible to do it. Xia Neo Star is the capital of the Empire. Not only is it heavily guarded, but it also hides countless powerful people. My current strength is not enough. By the way, the intelligence system of the Galactic Freedom Army is not inferior to that of the Empire. I urgently need 2 things, the Black Tortoise Ice Jade and the White Tiger Zhengjin, to build 2 new Sacred Beast Mechas to enhance my strength. Uncle Chen, can you help spread the news? I'm willing to pay a large sum of money to buy it, Xia Xingchen said with his eyes lighting up. Chapter 1344, The Ascendant Alliance. Zuan Wu Bengaiyu, Beihu Zhengjin. Chen Yaozhao frowned and shook his head, saying, what are these 2 materials? I have never heard of them. However, it is a piece of cake to help you spread the news. But, you may be disappointed. On the same day, Chen Yaozhao used the intelligence system of the Galaxy Freedom Army to spread the news on the Empire Skynet, paying a large sum of money to buy Zuan Wu Bengaiyu and Beihu Zhengjin. As Chen Yaozhao expected, the news caused a sensation on the internet and attracted the attention of countless people for more than 10 days, but no one was willing to trade. There was not even one person who could provide information about these 2 materials. These 2 things are so rare. You can't buy them, even if you have money? Xia Xingchen felt a headache and even began to doubt whether these 2 materials really exist in the universe. There is no way. Since I can't get any news for the time being, I can only find time to contact Carlos. See if he can help me get them. After waiting for a few more days, Xia Xingchen really couldn't sit still and had to temporarily put the plan to make 2 new mechas on hold. Xia Xingchen was about to say goodbye to Chen Yaozhao. He had been in the Galaxy Freedom Army for quite a while, and there were still many things waiting for him to deal with. When Chen Yaozhao saw Xia Xingchen coming, he immediately stood up with a smile on his face and said, Xingchen, you came just in time. I was just about to go find you. The 2 materials you wanted finally have some clues. Oh. Xia Xingchen was excited. He had given up hope, but unexpectedly, things suddenly took a turn for the better. Uncle Chen, is there finally someone willing to trade? No matter how much he offers, I'm willing. Xia Xingchen said hurriedly. Someone did contact me, but the matter is a bit complicated. You can talk to him in person. Chen Yazhao looked embarrassed. Okay, I'll talk to this person in person. Xia Xingchen didn't care. 3 days later, at the Freedom Space Station, Xia Xingchen was called by Chen Yazhao, who said that the person who wanted to trade had arrived. Xia Xingchen walked into the reception room excitedly and saw an old man squinting his eyes, drinking tea from a teacup, and chatting casually with Chen Yazhao. Chen Yazhao sat sideways on the sofa with a serious expression. It can be seen that he respects the old man very much. Chen Yazhao is the leader of the Galaxy Freedom Army and one of the most powerful people in the Milky Way. The person who can make him respect must be extraordinary. Xia Xingchen just walked into the door, and the old man turned his head and glanced at him. Buzz. Xia Xingchen's brain was buzzing, and he suddenly felt dizzy. Only the old man's pair of grey eyes were left in his mind. What a strong mental pressure. Xia Xingchen sighed secretly, and his mental power spread out to protect his brain, so that his body could regain balance. This old man's mental power level is higher than mine. It's not much different from my master. Who is he? Xia Xingchen was shocked. With his current mental power, just standing in front of the old man, he felt a creepy feeling. This old man's mental power is too terrifying. Xingchen, you are here. Let me introduce you. This is Senior Cao Kang. You should have heard of his name. Chen Yazhao introduced the two. Senior Cao, here's Xia Xingchen. Cao Kang? Xia Xingchen was shocked. He had indeed heard of the name Cao Kang. Cao Kang became famous very early, and he was a legendary mecha master of the same era as Roger. In the legend list of that year, Roger, Michael, and Cao Kang were firmly in the top 3. However, Cao Kang suddenly disappeared one day, and there was no news for nearly 60 years. Some people said that Cao Kang was trapped in the secret realm of the universe and had died. Others said that Cao Kang realized the true meaning of the universe, was promoted to a celestial being, and entered a higher level of life. A top master who had been missing for 60 years suddenly appeared in front of him. Xia Xingchen felt a little dazed. It was too unreal. Senior Cao. Xia Xingchen calmed his mind and saluted respectfully. Well, not bad. You are so young, but you can bear my witness. No wonder some people say that you are the most outstanding person among the young generation of mankind. Cao Kang, with ruddy skin, white hair and a youthful face, said with a smile. Senior, are you the one who wants to sell me the materials? Xia Xingchen asked cautiously. If it was Cao Kang, he might really be able to take out the 2 rare materials. You misunderstood. I came to you this time not to sell you the 2 materials, but to provide you with some relevant information. Cao Kang laughed. I know a place where you can get these 2 materials. What place? The secret realm of the universe? Xia Xingchen was startled and asked quickly. Have you heard of the Ascender Alliance? Cao Kang asked. Ascender Alliance? Xia Xingchen looked confused and shook his head slowly. The first thing he thought of was the Chosen One organization of the God's Messenger. Judging from the name, the Ascender Alliance and the Chosen One organization are the same, both of which are mysterious underground organizations. It's not surprising that you haven't heard of it. After all, only legends are qualified to know about the existence of the Ascendant Alliance. You have just become a legend, and it seems that no one has come to inform you yet. Cao Kang smiled and explained. The Ascendant Alliance has a long history. It has a history of thousands of years, since the founding of the Alliance. It is called the Alliance, but it is actually a college system that allows legends to enter the Alliance to study, share the mysteries of the universe, and grow together. The purpose of the Alliance is to allow humans to advance and evolve into true gods. Only legends are qualified to enter the academy to study. Xia Xingchen couldn't help but smack his lips. There is actually such a place? Haha, just being a legend is not enough to enter the academy. Legends can only obtain the threshold for admission. Ordinary legends who want to enter the academy have to go through layers of selection and strict assessment to have a 1 in 10 chance. But, Xia Xingchen, you are different. You are the most outstanding genius. The purpose of my coming here this time is to inform you of a good news. You have obtained the exemption qualification to enter the Ascendant Alliance. You can directly join the Ascendants and become one of us. Xiao Kang said with a smile. No test required. Join the Promoter Alliance? Xia Xingchen was confused after hearing this. Then, what does this have to do with me asking for 2 materials? The background of the Promoter Alliance is more terrifying than you can imagine. There are many legendary strongmen in the Alliance, including many wealthy people and scientists. It is a gathering place for talents. You can complete tasks in exchange for Alliance points, and use the points to exchange for anything you want. Among them are the Black Tortoise Ice Jade and the White Tiger Gem Gold. However, the 2 things you want are indeed rare, and the points required are a bit too many. Otherwise, I will just exchange them and give them to you as a gift. There was an obvious intention of winning over in Xiao Kang's words. Chapter 1345 Join? Reject? However, the more Xiao Kang tried to win him over, the more Xia Xingchen felt disgusted. Xia Xingchen was not a country boy who had never seen the world. Xia Xingchen had seen too many intrigues between people. The Ascendant Alliance, from what Xiao Kang said, was a very good place. However, you can't know a person's heart by knowing his face. Xia Xingchen and Xiao Kang just met by chance, so what he said might not be true. He came to win him over and might not be out of kindness. Xia Xingchen knew that you should not have the intention to harm others, but you must be on guard against others. Senior, is there really what I want in the Ascendant Alliance? Xia Xingchen asked tentatively. Haha, of course. Xiao Kang could see Xia Xingchen's doubts, but he was not angry. He waved his hand and put 2 rice-sized things on the table. Xuanwu Ice Crystal, White Tiger Zhengjin. These are the 2 things you want, but the quantity is a little less, only 1 gram. Xia Xingchen looked at them intently and saw that they were 2 cubes emitting metallic luster. One has an extremely low temperature, close to absolute zero. The other has sharp edges and flashes with cold light. Omniscience Domain. Xia Xingchen immediately unfolded his domain power, covering the 2 metals and analyzing their composition. Xia Xingchen immediately took a breath of cold air. Under the perception of the Omniscience Domain, these 2 things are indeed Xuanwu Ice Crystal and White Tiger Zhengjin. In other words, Xiao Kang did not lie. There are indeed these 2 materials in the Ascender Alliance. Xia Xingchen was immediately moved. Senior, I'm very grateful that you invited me to join the Ascender Alliance. However, I have some private matters to do. Can I delay joining the Alliance for a while? Xia Xingchen said, retreating to advance. Well, of course. Joining the Ascender is a voluntary act. When you are free, come to this place, and someone will naturally take you to the Alliance. Xiao Kang smiled and handed Xia Xingchen a piece of paper with the coordinates of a planet and the specific location on the planet written on it. Thank you, Senior. Xia Xingchen put the paper away and bowed to thank Xiao Kang. Xia Xingchen, I'll wait for you in the Alliance. Xiao Kang smiled, and his figure suddenly disappeared. It turned out that his body used teleportation and directly entered the mecha parked in the starry sky and flew directly away from the Freedom Space Station. The human body can also perform teleportation? How is it possible? How can the human body withstand the huge pressure during teleportation? Xia Xingchen was extremely shocked and couldn't come back to his senses for a long time. Xingchen. Senior Xiao has left. What do you think about joining the Ascenders? Join? Or refuse? Chen Yazhao waited until Xiao Kang walked away before asking. Uncle, I don't know. What kind of organization is the Ascenders organization? Xia Xingchen shook his head blankly. Although I'm not a legend, I have heard some rumors about the Ascenders. It is too difficult to join the Ascenders. All the members of this organization are elites. Real elites. Everyone is a genius standing at the top of the pyramid. As for Xiao Kang, I have some connections with him. Overall, I believe in him. This is a good opportunity for you to improve your strength. Don't miss it. Chen Yazhao said. Uncle, I understand. Xia Xingchen nodded slightly, lowered his head, and thought about it. That day, Xia Xingchen said goodbye to Chen Yazhao, said goodbye to Chen Tingting and Freya, left the Freedom Space Station, and returned to the Star Domain Arc. The Ascenders organization. This matter is of great importance. I will go back and ask my master and listen to his opinion. Xia Xingchen couldn't make up his mind, so he decided to go back to the Gold and Silver Star first to ask Roger's opinion. Roger is the strongest man in the world, and he is an old acquaintance of Kao Khan. He should know some information about the Ascenders organization. The Star Domain Arc returned to the Gold and Silver Star, still docked in the outer orbit. Xia Xingchen drove the mecha with ease, entered the atmosphere of the Gold and Silver Star alone, and landed on the surface of the planet. Yes, it's Xia Xingchen. He's back again. On the Gold and Silver Star, the King spacecraft carrier had not yet set sail, and Zhang Yan, Wan Rui and others were still on the planet. Seeing Xia Xingchen return, the brothers were all surprised. "Brother, you're back." Wan Rui was very happy, greeted him and said with a smile, "Well, I have something to ask Master. I may leave soon." Xia Xingchen said to Wan Rui, "Oh, you're leaving again?" Wan Rui looked disappointed. He really wanted to adventure in the universe with Xia Xingchen, but he never had the chance. "Xia Xingchen, I have news for you." Zhang Yan's expression returned to his previous arrogant state. He walked to Xia Xingchen and looked him up and down with his eyes slanted. "What's the news?" Xia Xingchen frowned. "What's the matter with Zhang Yan? He just taught him a lesson a few days ago. Why did he become so annoying again?" "The people from the Ascenders Alliance invited me to let me take the exam to join the Ascenders." "What? Why are you so surprised? Don't you even know what the Ascenders Alliance is?" "Oh, what an ignorant and pathetic person you are." Zhang Yan looked arrogant, sighed repeatedly, and showed pity in his eyes. Xia Xingchen was indeed stunned when he heard it. Did the people from the Ascenders Alliance also look for Zhang Yan? However, Zhang Yan is also a recognized genius. He is only one step away from becoming a legend, so it is natural for the people from the Ascenders Alliance to look for him. Of course, the Ascenders Alliance invited Zhang Yan just to let him take the exam. The passing rate of the exam is only 1 in 10. Even for a genius like Zhang Yan, the chance of passing the exam is very small. Even so, Zhang Yan was very excited and immediately came to show off to Xia Xingchen. If Zhang Yan knew that Xia Xingchen had obtained the qualification to join the Ascenders Alliance without taking the exam and was not very willing to go, I wonder how wonderful his expression would be. I really don't know what kind of organization the Ascender Alliance is. I'd like to hear more about it. Xia Xingchen smiled and said, "I don't think you know either." Zhang Yan snorted. "The Ascender Alliance is the top organization of mankind. The people in it are all human elites. Only legendary mecha masters are qualified to know the existence of the Ascender Alliance. There are even few legends who can join the alliance. People like me who have not yet achieved legends, but have already obtained the qualification for the exam are geniuses among geniuses. You, Xia Xingchen, are amazing. However, you have already achieved legends, but no one has invited you yet. It can be seen that the alliance believes that you have limited talent. You are not qualified to join the alliance." Zhang Yan talked for a long time, and what he said was all some self-boasting nonsense. Xia Xingchen did not get much information. He waved his hand irritably and walked towards the palace where Roger was. In the palace, Roger was sitting on a chair as usual, with his eyes closed, as if he was meditating. "Master." Xia Xingchen knelt in front of Roger. "Apprentice has something to report." Chapter 1346 The Last Cornerstone. "Well, Xingchen, your return must be due to something important. Tell me, I will try my best to answer your questions." Roger slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were infinitely deep, and they kept flashing with brilliant light. This was the light of life and the fire of wisdom. "Master, about the Ascendant Alliance." Xia Xingchen knelt in front of Roger, raised his head, looked at the master, and said in a deep voice, "The Ascendant Alliance. They finally found you." "Yes, that's right. You have achieved legend, and you are so outstanding that you are qualified to join the Ascendant Alliance. Who is the one who is looking for you? A third level or second level member of the Alliance?" Roger's face showed a strange color, and he spoke slowly. It was obvious that he knew a lot about the Ascendant Alliance. "I don't know." Xia Xingchen shook his head blankly. "A man named Kao Khan came to see me." "Kao Khan?" The surprise on Roger's face became even stronger. "He has surpassed the first level personnel in the Promoter Alliance. He can be called an elder and is one of the most powerful people in the alliance. He came to you in person, which shows that the alliance values you very much. Master, what kind of organization is the Promoter Alliance? Xia Xingchen asked. The Ascender Alliance is undoubtedly the most powerful organization in the Milky Way. The strength of this organization is undoubtedly top-notch. Even the Qin royal family is not qualified to compete with the alliance. Even Iron Viking Star Pirates cannot be on par with the Ascender Alliance. Roger said slowly, the Ascender Alliance has gathered almost all the strong men of mankind, condensed the most advanced technology of mankind, and condensed the wisdom of countless generations. Every legend wants to join the alliance, share the wisdom and technology of the alliance, and further improve their own strength. However, joining the alliance is an extremely difficult thing. Even if you receive an invitation, you still need to pass layers of assessments to become a formal member of the alliance. Master, Kaio Khan gave me the exemption qualification to join the alliance. Xia Xingchen said honestly. What? Exemption? Roger was stunned. He thought that Xia Xingchen, like Zhang Yan, only obtained the qualification to take the exam of the Ascender Alliance. Unexpectedly, Xia Xingchen obtained the exemption qualification. As far as Roger knows, the exemption qualification of the Ascender Alliance is extremely rare. In the past 100 years, only one person besides Xia Xingchen has obtained it. This person is Roger himself. As the strongest man in the human race, Roger once obtained the qualification to join the Ascender Alliance without examination. But at that time, Roger was still leading the King of Star Pirates to gallop freely in the Sea of Stars. He did not think too much and refused. Master, you also refused. Xia Xingchen was secretly surprised when he heard Roger talk about this past event. If joining the alliance really has so many benefits as rumored, why did you refuse? I said that the strength of the alliance is beyond doubt. The benefits of joining the alliance are also obvious. But I don't believe in them, Roger said in a deep voice. Xia Xingchen was stunned for a moment and then laughed. He found that he was very similar to Roger. No wonder they are master and apprentice. Like Roger, he did not believe in the Ascender Alliance. There was no special reason, just instinctive suspicion. Actually, the reason is very simple. Roger also laughed. If the Ascender Alliance is really that powerful, it should have cultivated one strong man after another over the years. These strong men should be famous and shining in the starry sky. However, I'm still the strongest man in the world. The Ascender Alliance has always been hidden in the dark. I have never been interested in such a hidden organization. I want to become stronger in my own way, to become a celestial being, to reach a realm that no one has ever reached before. Hug together for warmth. I disdain. Roger's words were full of the breath of a strong man. Xia Xingchen nodded repeatedly, with admiration and respect in his eyes. Xia Xingchen also dreamed of becoming a strong man like Roger. Even if there is only one person, he must reach the top. This is the domineering power that only the strong have. However, since the Ascender Alliance has invited you and given you the qualification to be exempted from the test, you can also join in and let them know how excellent my apprentice Roger is. Of course, the decision on this matter is up to you. I will not interfere. Xingchen, let go and do it boldly. Your master believes in your strength. Roger said. Thank you, master. Xia Xingchen thanked him, and a warm current surged in his heart. With Roger's unconditional support behind him, Xia Xingchen felt at ease. A good teacher, in addition to pointing out the maze at critical moments, must also give his disciples confidence. After repeated consideration, Xia Xingchen decided to follow Roger's example and take his own path to becoming a strong man. Joining the Ascendant Alliance may be a shortcut to becoming stronger. However, Xia Xingchen decided to give up this shortcut and slowly become stronger through his own efforts. If time permits. Galactic Empire. Under the arrangement of the new God Envoy Andre, the hidden forces of the Shinran sect were revealed, forming a huge fleet with thousands of spaceships. Compared with the previous God Envoy's low-key approach, under the leadership of Andre, the Shinran sect became sharp and eager to show its strength. Bloody riots broke out on several major planets in the Empire. These riots brought more believers to the Shinran sect, as well as unimaginable wealth. Of course, there are side effects. The recent actions of the Shinran sect have attracted the attention of the Imperial Intelligence Organization, and the information was organized and sent to Qin Yun's desk. After reading the information, Qin Yun frowned. He knew very well that everything he had was thanks to the Shinran sect. If it weren't for the god's messenger who bewitched Qin Jaina and assassinated his brother, he would have been treated as a war criminal and exiled to a remote planet, bearing the infamy and living alone until the end of his life, or even couldn't stand the humiliation and committed suicide. It was because of the conspiracy of the Shinran sect that Qin Yun reversed the situation and firmly controlled the empire in his own hands. Because Princess Crossing was exiled to the chaotic starfield, Qin Yun's plan to become emperor was destroyed. However, Qin Yun did not give up becoming emperor. It's just that he needs more merits, more control of public opinion, and more time. At this moment, the opportunity to become emperor again is about to come. At this juncture, the Shinran sect suddenly jumped out, which made Qin Yun have a bad premonition. What should I do? Continue to support the Shinran sect? Or? Qin Yun frowned and thought hard, and the corners of his mouth suddenly raised, revealing a cruel arc. Or, let Shinran sect become another stepping stone for me to become emperor. Although Shinran sect has helped me, but in the final analysis, we are just using each other. The pigs are fattened, and are meant to be slaughtered. Qin Yun is an unjust person. Tearing up agreements is commonplace for him. Moreover, for Shinran sect and the mysterious god's messenger who is always hidden in the black robe and has the power to bewitch people, Qin Yun always has a very dangerous feeling and feels uneasy. Take this opportunity. Destroy Shinran sect. Lay the last cornerstone for me to ascend the throne and become emperor. Qin Yun's face bloomed with a sinister smile. Chapter 1347 Dictator. The Galactic Empire. Shinran Star. This planet is not far from Shinyuan Star. It is a gift from Qin Yun to Shinran sect. On the planet, there are church spires towering into the sky. On the streets, you can see Shinran sect believers wearing long robes and prostrating themselves in front of the church. When the Qin royal family established the Galactic Empire, they did not follow the example of their predecessors in establishing a country with religion, so they did not establish any religion as a state religion. In the millennium of the Galactic Empire, science and technology developed, society prospered, and the cultural level of mankind became higher and higher. The religions that once flourished were squeezed to live in a compressed space and chose to preach on marginal planets. Only the new religion of Shinran sect has developed extremely rapidly in the past few decades, with hundreds of millions of followers and countless wealth. In the center of Shinran Star, in the largest church, Andre was kneeling in front of a spherical statue that was shining with light. His eyes, which were originally unruly and bloodthirsty, were filled with piety. Lord, is the time ripe? Andre asked in a low voice. The light ball flickered, emitting a soft white light, and condensed into a pair of cold eyes in the air, looking down at Andre. This is a pair of eyes made purely of spiritual energy. In the depths of the pupils, there are billions of stars born and destroyed, and layers of light gather, too many to count. There is an indescribable coldness in these eyes, which no longer belong to the category of life, and have no emotions. However, Andre knew that these were the pupils of the spirit race. Compared with flesh and blood life, pure spiritual life is a higher level of life. Andre was resurrected from the dead. He had seen the greatness of the spirit race in the kingdom of the gods. At the same time, he was deeply envious and hoped that he could evolve and ascend, abandon the flesh, and become a pure spiritual life. The pair of spiritual eyeballs floated, and suddenly two rays of light gushed out and shot into Andre's body. Swish. The black robe on Andre's body silently dissipated, turned into dust, and slowly floated into the air. His body was naked, with perfect body lines, and a light blue luster emanated from under his muscles, revealing an inhuman weirdness. He closed his eyes tightly, floating in the air, and brilliant bands of light flowed out of his body, entwining around his body. After an unknown amount of time, the light on Andre dissipated, and he slowly fell from the air, opened his eyes, and his eyes were emotionless. Thank you, merciful and supreme Lord. Thank you for giving me unparalleled power. Andre knelt down and whispered, "You're welcome." Andre opened his mouth and uttered strange and indifferent words to himself. Then, Andre put on the black robe again, but did not put on the hood. His face was cold and his temperament changed greatly. Bang! With a loud bang, the door of the church was pushed open, and a group of people in church uniforms rushed in angrily. God's messenger. Because of your wrong judgment, we have been judged as an extremely terrorist organization by the Empire. We will be surrounded and suppressed by the Starship Army immediately. All our efforts will be in vain. This is all your responsibility. The leading man shouted loudly. He is the leader of the Shinran sect, and has a high status in the sect, only below Andre. The others followed suit, shouting that Andre should step down, and hand over the position of the messenger of God. Christopher. Andre called the name of his former subordinate softly, with a faint smile on his face. Everything I did was instructed by God. Are you questioning God's will? Messenger of God. You are just a messenger of God. How dare you take the name of God and do unjust things? Christopher shouted to the church members on both sides. Take this man down. He is a sinner of my sect. Pathetic. Andre looked compassionate and shook his head slowly. You pathetic humans. You don't understand God's thoughts at all. Only I can make you, the lost lambs, get the value you deserve. Swish. Andre waved his hand slowly, without a trace of fireworks. Time in the church seemed to stop abruptly. Those church members who rushed up stopped at the same time. Bang. With a loud bang, the body of a member of the church exploded and turned into a ball of blood. Then, there were explosions everywhere. Everyone present exploded one by one and turned into a pool of bloody corpses. Christopher was the only one left. He was panicked and sat in a pool of blood. He watched Andre stepping on the blood and flesh and slowly walked over, screaming, "No!" The sacred light sprinkled on the dome of the church. The door of the church opened, and Andre, covered in blood, walked out slowly. Behind him was a sea of blood and corpses. Stupid human. Andre looked up at the sky with a pious face. My time has come. All you can do is tremble. Andre quickly cleared the opposition voices in the Shinran church and gathered the believers to form a terrible army that was completely brainwashed by religion. There were thousands of starships and millions of believers. They drove the spaceships fully armed and left Shinran Star. Andre's first plan was to abandon Shinran Star. Kinyan was panicked when he got the news. Shinran Star was too close to Shinyuan Star. If Andre attacked Shinyuan Star with the determination to die, even though there were royal guards on Shinyuan Star, they might not be the opponents of these brainwashed church soldiers. Kinyan immediately gave up attacking the Galaxy Freedom Army and led the Starship Army back to Shinyuan Star. However, what Kinyan did not expect was that Andre did not attack Shinyuan Star. Andre led thousands of Shinran starships and disappeared in the starry sky like a ghost. What is the envoy of God going to do? In the high tower of the Shinyuan Star military headquarters, Kinyan frowned and thought hard. He had a feeling that the Shinran church would do something big. But the behavior of the envoy of God was too weird and erratic, and no one knew what he wanted to do. Declare the Shinran religion a cult. Destroy the church. Arrest the believers. Wanted the middle and upper management of the Shinran religion. Since they have fallen out, I will make sure that the Shinran religion will never stand up again. Kinyan issued the order as the regent. The political arena of the empire was shaken. The Shinran religion had infiltrated every aspect of the empire. Many important figures in the business and political circles had joined the Shinran religion and had close ties with the church. These people joined the Shinran religion for their own interests. At this moment, they jumped out one after another and drew a clear line with the Shinran religion. Countless people were arrested by the army and secret police, thrown into prison, secretly interrogated, and then executed. The entire empire fell into terror where everyone was in danger. However, Kinyan's reputation, along with the increase in the level of terror, also rose all the way. Kinyan became a true dictator. He became extremely inflated and realized that the time for him to become emperor was about to come. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1348, Miracle Coming. In the starry sky, The starships of the celestial beings sect were like a nightmare, hiding in the dark side of the planet. Andre stood in front of the porthole, staring at the dark starry sky, with a cold smile on his face. The time is finally ripe. Andre waved his hand, and immediately a member of the sect came forward to listen to his teachings, his face full of fanatical fighting spirit. God's messenger, are we finally going to counterattack? It's time to let the Galactic Empire know the consequences of blasphemy. The other members of the sect also prostrated themselves in front of Andre, their bodies trembling slightly due to excitement. They all longed for war, longed for killing, and longed to take back what originally belonged to them from the Galactic Empire. Yeah. Andre nodded slightly, very satisfied with the crazy fighting spirit emanating from the believers. With a wave of his hand, a star map appeared in the air. A bright spot in the corner of the Chang'an star field shone brightly. He said lightly, "This planet is our target of attack." This planet? Countless believers saw the location of this planet, and they all looked confused. What is this place? Isn't it Xia Xingchen star? Why do we want to attack this remote planet? The believers whispered. What was completely different from before was that no one dared to question Andre's decision. The previous envoy used psychic powers to control people's hearts. Andre used fear. Under Andre's bloody means, the entire Xia sect was firmly controlled in his hands. This planet is called Lingjiu Star. It is the secret research institute of the Qin royal family and an indispensable part of my plan. Now, attack Lingjiu Star. With Andre's order, the starships of the Xia sect flew towards Lingjiu Star in a mighty manner. Woo, woo. The shrill alarm broke the tranquility of Lingjiu Star. In the research institute, countless researchers walked to the streets, looked up at the sky, and their faces were full of astonishment. They asked each other what happened, and why the control center of Lingjiu Star sounded the air defense alarm. Although surprised, no one panicked. Lingjiu Star has its own defense force, independent of the Imperial military, and under the full control of the Lingjiu Star Royal Research Institute. Before, because Meredith protected Xia Xingchen's father, Qin Yun once led a fleet to besiege Lingjiu Star. However, even the mighty Imperial army could not break through the defense of the Coffin Star defense team, and could only leave in disgrace. This time the alarm sounded loudly. Could it be that the Imperial fleet was making a comeback? The researchers in white robes were talking and laughing, not panicking at all. No one can break through the defense of the Coffin Star. The Royal Research Institute is the safest place in the universe. They were all very confident, and this confidence was not blind, because they had the most advanced technology in the Milky Way. The core area of the Royal Research Institute of Coffin Star. Meredith had messy blonde hair and red eyes, as if she had just woken up from a dream, and was concentrating on the screen, staring at the huge fleet in the starry sky, with a frown on her face. Who are these people? Why did they suddenly attack the Coffin Star? Meredith asked the observer next to him. The Celestial Beings, a cult organization, said the observer. Why did the Celestial Beings suddenly attack the Coffin Star? Meredith looked confused, adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses, and raised the corners of his mouth. However, no matter who it is impossible to break through the defense of the Coffin Star. Let these cultists have a taste of the power of science. As you command. The observer smiled easily. Although the enemy fleet was aggressive, the Coffin Star was not a pushover. Meredith. Let Carissa go to battle. I want to teach them a lesson. Carissa begged beside her. Carissa. Meredith looked at the little girl in front of him and sighed. Be obedient. It's not time for you to go to battle yet. Meredith is a big fool. Carissa yelled and ran away angrily. Director, they are just some cultists. Carissa can easily wipe them out. Let her relax. An observer said with a smile. Meredith remained silent, and behind the lenses of her glasses, a pair of eyes flashed with a cold light. If it were before, Meredith would definitely agree to let Carissa go out, to fight and teach these hateful cultists a lesson. However, for some reason, this time Meredith had an ominous premonition in his heart. Lord God, we can't break through the protective shield of the Coffin Star. We can't even observe the Coffin Star. In front of us, there is only a barren starry sky. On the Xia sect spaceship, believers kept reporting the news to Andre. Well, is it the space collapse caused by gravity? The location of the Coffin Star is indeed a wonder of the universe. Andre nodded slightly, waved his hand and ordered, "All starships listen to orders. Suspend the attack. Wait for my order." Swish. Andre's figure flashed, and he had left the starship, teleported outside the starship, and his body stood in the boundless starry sky. That's right, Andre didn't drive a mecha, but just relied on his body to walk in the endless void. Outside his body, a faint golden light flickered, extremely sacred, as if he were a god. A band of light appeared under his feet, leading directly to the coffin star, and he walked slowly forward. It seemed that his pace was slow, but with every step he took, he was approaching the coffin star quickly. A miracle, Lord God, a miracle has been triggered. Walking in the void, a miracle that only gods can perform. Countless believers saw this scene with their own eyes, and they all knelt down and worshipped in the direction of Andre in the starry sky, with pious faces. Humph, what an ignorant human being. Andre snorted disdainfully, and his body had passed through the singularity, and the desolate surface of the coffin star appeared before his eyes. In the universe, a figure passed through the singularity and quickly approached the coffin star. He is not wearing a spacesuit. He is not driving a mecha. Is it a robot? Humans cannot survive in space. No, not a robot. He is transmitting a strong life wave. In the Coffin Star Research Institute, the big screen showed Andre walking in the void and quickly approaching the coffin star. Everyone couldn't help but exclaimed. Their mouths opened wide, their eyes widened, and their eyes were full of astonishment. They are all researchers, believe in science, and oppose superstition. They never believe in such ridiculous things as miracles. However, Andre's actions have gone beyond the scope of science and subverted their worldview. Attention all units. Lock the target and open fire. Don't let him get close to the coffin star. The sleepiness on Meredith's pretty face was swept away, and her eyes were full of determination. She ordered loudly, no matter what he is. Stop him. Chapter 1349, Invasion of the Coffin Planet. Following Meredith's order, the barren surface of the coffin star was opened, and countless hidden cannons, rocket launchers, and laser cannons appeared. The black muzzles were aimed at Andre, who was walking in the air. Boom. Tens of thousands of rocket-like missiles were launched at the same time, and huge energy beams gathered together and bombarded Andre's seemingly fragile human body. But, with a tinnitus-inducing vibration, a bright, milky white light covered Andre's body. Energy storms emerged around him, rushing around his body. Before the missiles approached Andre's body, they were torn to pieces by the energy storm, causing a huge explosion. The fragments of the missiles were like hail, hitting Andre's body crazily, but no shrapnel could really penetrate the energy storm. In this terrifying raw and dazzling energy beam, Andre was like strolling in the garden, passing through the rain of bullets and descending to the surface of the coffin star. As soon as his figure touched the surface, he completely disappeared into the Earth's soil. The target is intact. The target has erupted with a high energy reaction. The target cannot be stopped. The target has disappeared. Exclamations continued to ring out in the control center of Lingju Star. No one expected that Andre would actually pass through the artillery fire and enter the interior of Lingju Star safely. Is he still a human? Or has he become another species? Meredith's brows were tightly furrowed. Her pretty face was uncertain, and the bad feeling in her heart became stronger. Lingju Star is under martial law. Enter the S-level danger level. All researchers enter the underground bunker. All detectors are turned on to look for the trace of the figure. Carissa, drive the mecha, and prepare for battle. Meredith issued a series of orders. Send a distress signal to Xia Star. Seek support from the Imperial fleet. Meredith thought about it, and was ready to abandon her worthless dignity and ask for help from the Imperial military. Yes, sir. The guards present also realized the urgency of the situation. They stood at attention and saluted, with a look of determination on their faces. The loud siren sounded again. The red light flashed inside the major research institutes of Lingju Star. The secret door in the research institute opened, and deep and long passages appeared, leading to the nuclear shelter located in the Earth's crust. Although the researchers were at a loss, and did not know what emergency had happened, they still entered the passage in an orderly manner, and entered the nuclear shelter. Lingju Star is a hollow planet with a burning artificial sun in the center. The city is upside down under the stratum, and the location of the nuclear shelter is in a thin stratum. Although it is not deep, the location is absolutely hidden. Waiting for all researchers to enter, the passage was immediately exploded, leaving only a few hidden escape passages. In the city of Lingju Star, only the white painted guard mechas were left flying at low altitudes, with detectors turned on, searching for Andre's traces. Captain, nothing was found in Area A. Nothing was found in Area B. Nothing was found in Area C. Target traces were found in Area DD. Oh my god. What is this? Ah. With a scream, more than a dozen guard mechas in Area D lost contact at the same time. Mars, the captain of the Coffin Star Mecha Guard, frowned and immediately ordered, all guard mechas, rush to Area D. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Thousands of white smoke traces of mechas flying across the sky, and the guard mechas flew to Area D. I saw a research institute building emitting thick smoke and floating flames. A huge figure, as tall as 100 meters, slowly stood up, and stood in the city, like a demon god standing tall. Is this the legendary demon mech, the #1 in the empire? Hehe, it is indeed a powerful mech. In the spacious cockpit of the demon mech, Andre sat in the driving chair and laughed heartily. Hao Xian, Zuo Leheng, they are indeed the best mech masters. They actually designed such a terrifying mech. Just for me. Andre's purpose of attacking the Coffin Star was for this demon mech. It was not a modified version for participating in the fighting competition, but the original demon mech. Oh my god. He can actually drive the demon mech. What did I do? The demon mech fell into the hands of this devil. There must be a lot of suffering. In the underground bunker, Zuo Leheng and Hao Xian saw this scene on the screen, and both of them were panicked. Hao Xian grabbed his remaining hair in annoyance, with an expression of extreme regret. His facing the huge demon mech, Mars felt that his mech was like dust, and he couldn't help but take a breath. The opponent has only one person and one mecha. Although it is huge, it is not easy to move. It is a target. Everyone, attack with all your strength. Mars shouted and took the lead in launching the attack. Bang! A huge palm came over and slapped on Mars' mecha. In an instant, this famous legendary mecha master was beaten into a pulp. Pa pa pa. The palm of the demon mecha waved continuously, and the guard mechas were slapped down one by one like flies. The attack of the guard mecha group could not break through the armor of the demon mecha at all. In a blink of an eye, the 1,000-man guard army of Lingju Star was wiped out. Ha ha ha. The demon mecha is really powerful. Andre laughed wildly and slaughtered recklessly. The ground around him was covered with burning mecha wreckage and collapsed ruins. How is it possible? One person's power actually wiped out all the guards. Who is he? Meredith's eyes were red and his face was full of disbelief. Arsehole. A young girl's coquettish voice sounded in the sky above Area D, and a silver figure appeared in the air. The driver was none other than Kirissa. The eyes of this genius girl were burning with angry flames, and the mecha was flashing with dazzling silver lightning. It rushed towards Andre at a very fast speed. Kirissa, don't. You are no match for him. Run. Meredith shouted at the top of her lungs. Bang. However, it was too late. Kirissa had already rushed over in the mecha. Before she got close, she was slapped away by the demon mecha and flew towards the artificial sun hanging in the sky. Don't. Meredith screamed, completely losing her composure. She stretched out her hand towards the screen in vain, like a madman. She regarded Kirissa as her daughter and had a deep affection for her. And now, Kirissa flew backwards with the mecha, and the artificial sun hanging in the air spewed out flames and swallowed her. At that moment, the light of the artificial sun became even hotter. It was as if Kirissa had never been in this world, and she disappeared without a trace in the high temperature. No. Meredith screamed, her eyes went dark, and she fainted on the spot due to great grief. Chapter 1350, No Answer. The distress signal from Lingju Star crossed the endless sea of stars, and reached Xianyuan Star. In an instant, the entire Xianyuan Star was in an uproar. On Xianyuan Star, the Imperial Military Department immediately held an emergency meeting on the matter. Lingju Star Royal Research Institute is the foundation of the Empire. It is the technological cornerstone of the Empire. The villains dared to attack Lingju Star. How audacious. An old general said angrily. We must support Lingju Star immediately. There is no time to lose. A major general nodded slightly, with fighting spirit burning in his eyes. Yes. Lingju Star is too important. We must reorganize the fleet immediately to support Lingjiu Star. At the emergency meeting, most of the Imperial officers agreed to support Lingjiu Star immediately. Just as the generals were preparing to draw up a support plan, Regent Qin walked into the meeting room. Your Highness. All the generals stood up and saluted Qin respectfully. Yes. Sit down. Qin nodded slightly, walked straight to the middle seat of the conference table, and sat down. Your Highness, the situation on Lingjiu Star is critical. We are drawing up a battle plan. An old general whispered. Cancel the plan. Qin crossed his fingers, placed them on the table, and said lightly. Cancel? Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe their ears. That's right. No general of the Imperial Army can go to support Lingjiu Star in any name. Qin ordered. Your Highness. Lingjiu Star is the foundation of the Empire. If there is a problem, is there any reason for you to make such a decision? The old general asked. It's very simple. Because there is no need. Isn't Meredith this woman very arrogant? She thinks that Lingjiu Star is very powerful and doesn't even take the Imperial Army seriously. Even if we send reinforcement, it's not now. Let Meredith suffer a lot. Qin sneered. Your Highness, is it just because of this? The generals all widened their eyes, their faces full of shock. After all, Qin just holds a grudge. He is not a generous person. He still remembers that Meredith made him lose face, and now he is looking for revenge. Qin is a person with a petty mind. All the generals dared to be angry, but dared not speak out. Only the old general was so angry that his beard trembled. He said, Your Highness, this is a personal grudge between you and Meredith. Please don't make a big mistake because of these trivial matters. Lingjiu Star is the foundation of the Empire. There can't be any mistakes. General Duanmu, please pay attention to your words. Don't forget your identity. Qin shouted angrily. Your Highness. The old general's face changed, and he knelt in front of Qin with a plop, shouting, Please think twice, Your Highness. General Duanmu, you are old, and it's time to go back to your hometown, to recuperate for a while. Qin said lightly. Qin's words clearly meant to dismiss General Duanmu from his military post. The old general was stunned for a long time, before he knelt down and kowtowed, tears streaming down his face. He whispered, Thank you, Your Highness. An old general like Duanmu had been loyal to the Empire all his life, and had made countless contributions. He was dismissed from his military post, just because he contradicted Qin. The other generals in the military department dared to be angry, but did not dare to speak out. This matter is settled. Unless Meredith asks me in person. Otherwise, no one can disobey orders and send troops privately. Dismiss. Qin waved his hand and strode out of the Imperial military department. Only the generals were left standing there, looking at each other in bewilderment. The call for help from Lingjiu Star fell on deaf ears. On Lingjiu Star, Meredith saw that Kirissa had died, and she fainted due to anger. After waking up, she sent a call for help to Xianyu and Star continuously, but received no response. Her heart sank. General Duanmu took off his military uniform, put on civilian clothes, and walked quickly into the Imperial Palace. Ah, General. The guard at the entrance of the palace recognized General Duanmu, and immediately stood at attention and saluted. I'm looking for Captain Qin. Duanmu said. I'll take you there. The guard hurriedly took Duanmu deep into the palace, and into a small room. In the room, an old man with a white beard was drinking to drown his sorrows. His eyes were blurred, and he looked drunk. This man was the captain of the Imperial Royal Guard, the owner of the Space Key, and the 5th ranked strongman Qin Haitian on the legend list. Qin Haitian was implicated because of Qin Jaina's affairs, and he was bound to be imprisoned. However, due to the intervention of the Imperial Elders Council, Qin Haitian was protected, and in the end he did not go to jail, but was placed under house arrest in the palace. Qin Haitian has been depressed since then, drinking every day, and has almost become a useless person. Well, General Duan, how come you have time to come to me today? Come on, drink. Qin Haitian grabbed the wine pot in his hand, saw Duanmu's figure, and greeted him drunkenly. Haitian. General Duanmu and Qin Haitian have been friends for many years. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. I'm no longer a general. Qin has dismissed me. From now on, I'm an ordinary citizen of the Empire. You are still a member of the royal family after all. Qin Yun. Qin Haitian's right hand tightly grasped the wine pot. His joints turned white, and the copper wine pot was slightly deformed by his pinch. Even you have been dismissed? He is really too much. But, what can I do? Come on, drink, drink. When you are drunk, all your worries are forgotten. As he said that, Qin Haitian raised his head and poured the wine in the wine pot. The wine splashed and wet his clothes, making him look particularly embarrassed, like a sloppy old man. Haitian. Duanmu felt distressed when he saw Qin Haitian like this. Stop drinking. Duanmu couldn't help it, snatched the wine pot from Qin Haitian's hand, and shouted, something happened, something big happened. Lingju Star was attacked by Shinran cult, and is in danger. In a few hours, hundreds of distress signals have been sent. It can be seen that the situation is very critical. Lingju Star can't hold on. Qin Haitian was stunned, and the drunkenness on his face faded away for the most part. Something happened on Lingju Star. This is incredible. What did the military say? Has the fleet support been arranged? The vanguard should have set off. No, not even a starship or a mecha was dispatched. Qin Yun did not allow the military to send reinforcement. I was dismissed on the spot because of this matter, because I contradicted Qin Yun. Duanmu shook his head and said anxiously, not allowed to send reinforcement? Qin Yun is crazy. Qin Haitian was furious and punched the table with a huge force, and the steel square table turned into a pile of scrap iron. You should have heard the rumors that Qin Yun and Meredith have a grudge. But Qin Yun is a person who holds grudges. Duanmu said in a deep voice. That's the coffin star. Even if Qin Yun holds a grudge, he should know what is more important. Qin Haitian said angrily. Qin Yun's actions are shaking the foundation of the empire. Is he worthy of the spirits of his ancestors in heaven? Although he cursed, Qin Haitian also knew that Qin Yun was narrow-minded and stubborn, and he was indeed capable of doing such excessive things. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.